Hello. I could be live. Anything could be happening. It's saying I'm live. Good evening, one and all. Let me know if you can hear me. That would be a good start. Hello, Renee. Has Renee been talking to himself, or was it you? Almost the same, I think. So, good evening to you. Right. Hello, Mike. Glad you're there. Hey, wonders will never cease. I am amazing. Do say so myself.
I told them to sacrifice chickens, and Debbie S said the chickens that live behind me are too cute. And I said...
Lola's already sacrificed hers.
She said I couldn't sacrifice one of them. I said not even to save after hours.
No. Anyway, who else have we got in here? Hello, Debbie.
We've got all the Debs.
Oh, we have a full complement of Debs. Excellent. And a full complement of Carols, I do believe. Hello, Carol. And hello, Kimmer. Kimmer's Kimmer. Excellent. Loving it. Hello, Jonathan. Always a good night when Jonathan is in the house. Good to have you with us, Jonathan. And who else have we got? If I miss anybody, shout at me. Peter. Hello, Peter. Hello, Graham. Oh, Graham. Whenever I see Graham, have you noticed, I've got this Pavlov's dog's reaction to think of food and cakes. Which takes me neatly to the Victoria sponge that we've got that we still haven't eaten.
No.
It's been here 5 days and we still haven't touched it. Trust me, it's going to be devoured tomorrow. It's not going to last any longer, I can assure you. Hello, Carol. Oh, he's masquerading as needlework tips. Yeah, but I recognise the picture. So I know it's you, there's no hiding. We're not having that. Hello, Deb. So we've got Debbie, Deb and Deborah. Fantastic. Hello, Paul. Hello, Stephen. Keep going. I think I'm sorted. I think I am. Possibly not. Keep going. I've done it. Excellent. Right, I'm up to date. Oh, YouTube was having a moment tonight, but it's never mind. We beat it into submission with a stick. So we can get on. It's a jam-packed show that I have just had to rearrange as well. But I think we'll get there. Somehow we will. We'll get there. So, hopefully you're seeing that. I'll make sure you're seeing that, because if you're not seeing that, that's the problem. No, you're seeing exactly what you should be seeing. I would say things are going well, but no, don't do that. Don't say that. So, we've got some little updates from Notion. Notion updates they have not told us about. Do not do that, Notion, because then it plays with my mind. But the two little tiny tweaks I've found, both of them, awesome. Right, we've got new Chrome. There is a new Chrome version on the way. You may not have it yet. I have the nightly builds and I have it. And I'm showing it you in relation to what we're looking at in Vivaldi. In between that, I've sandwiched in the Alfred sanity saving workflow, which we discussed on MacBites. If you have not heard MacBites, naughty, naughty, you are delinquent. Then I'm doing Vivaldi, and then Mike's doing LAMBDA. That's the Super Lambanana, if you remember. All change on the Super Lambanana front. Then we've got the Creating an Icon Kit in Affinity Designer, which is part 2, and the Scrivener series, before the unboxing. Now, when I say unboxing, I would love to guarantee this, but I've got a camera here. It's working. Everything can see it, apart from Wirecast. So YouTube can't see it. But I will be kicking it when Mike is doing his LAMBDA. So fingers crossed, and if there's any chickens that can be spared, that would be a good time to make a suitable donation to the tech gods so I can get this camera working. Do you know what I think I might try, Mike? I think I might try getting that 10 quid one out, which worked fabulously. This Logitech thing at about 160, less so. So that's one thing that I could try. But we will aim for an unboxing. Right, we're broadcasting in 1080p. What are you receiving in? Because it could be anything. What do you do to me this week? I think it's been fairly well behaved this week. You know, I think it's mustered 480 most of the time. But I even got one in 4K. It was blissful. Oh, and the ABBA thing. I watched the ABBA thing. That was good. That was in 1080, I think. At least. Anyway, while you're down there, there is a like button. And if you were to hit that like button, that would be rather good. We would appreciate that. So, we come on to the week at MacBites headquarters. Oh, Patricia's in the house. Hello, Patricia. I've got half an eye on here. Oh, Peter says, new Chrome features. What, like it works and connects to websites and things? No, that's not it, Peter. No, sometimes it does that. Most of the time it doesn't. No. No, it's a feature that I'm going to compare what they've only just added with something that Vivaldi's had for ages, which is just amazing. And I'll show you what Google have done, and then we can all... Who remembers the Smash advert from the 70s? We can all do that. We can all giggle away and fall off our chairs. That's what we'll do. Right, okay, so Saturday started. And if you remember, there was a worldwide warning issued because we were on holiday. And it never ends well, I'm afraid. So yes, we were on holiday officially from Saturday. But pretty much busman's holiday, because we ended up doing 8 shows again. And then at 8 o'clock, we went into Brooklyn's by request. Oh, I had fun with this one. Best theme ever. Oh, it was International Dog Day. So, yeah, she slept through it, bless her. Oh, except when the Tesco delivery arrived. But, sadly, it wasn't Wendy. So, no special treats for Lola. Seeing her happier, let's put it like that. Now, Sunday, this entire weekend is a bank holiday in the UK. A bank holiday being like the equivalent of your Labour Day, which I know is on Monday. So, a bank holiday because traditionally the banks were closed. We're very literal here in the UK. But that means that things happen on Saturday and Sunday, and you have Monday off as well. So, Sunday was the last Sunday of the month of August, and that's traditionally when the Catenians have their holiday barbecue. But obviously, we're not leaving the house. So, no burgers for us then. However, Mike had it taken care of. Oh, it was delicious. It was a gluten-free bun, obviously. It was the best burgers we could get our hands on, with cheese, with bacon, with onion rings, and the rest of the detritus that you can see on the table. So if it belonged with a burger, we had it, and it was delightful. And it only took about 2 days to recover from the indulgence, didn't it? It was well worth it. It was. I, in the evening, headed off to my book club. We are wrapping up How to Read a Book. But we got it down to like 2 hours and something. Yeah, no. We were back up to 3 hours 15. But on the upside, it didn't kick off as badly as it did last week. I think at the end there was about 12 of us. But, we managed it to the end. Which took us on to Monday. Now, when Mike was P at the Catenians, we instigated a concept that we thought was a good idea. It's the Brooklands 196 Bank Holiday Breakfast Club, which is where you head off and have a breakfast at the fabulous Bramley Farm. So actually, really, it's the Brooklands 196 Bramley Farm Bank Holiday Breakfast Club. And do you know how I managed that with the teeth? Amazing. But did I mention not leaving the house? So we organised it all and everybody else had a fabulous time, apparently. We decided we'd have our own breakfast here. Maybe that's why it took 2 days to recover from the day before. The burger. That's a full English breakfast. In fact, it's not, is it? Because there's no hash browns on that. You definitely got to have hash browns. Is there anything else missing, Mike? Mushrooms are there. No, I think that's it. Apart from the hash browns. You've got to have hash browns.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was Monday. But despite the fact it was a bank holiday, oh, no. We were busy. We had an appointment in the studio, which was just as well that it got done on Monday. So, Tuesday rocked round. Bearing in mind, this is a standard working day, but we have got the next 4 days off. So, not satisfied with stuffing ourselves on the Sunday and the Monday, we decided to do a stuffing of ourselves on the Tuesday as well. And we had a delivery from Morrison's, full of all kinds of treats and ice cream. Oh, it was delicious. And once we'd sorted that out, the MacBites didn't actually come together, did it, till about an hour before it was due. But we did get there. It was MacBites 144, Beware U-Turn Ahead. No spoilers, but it's a couple of U-turns this week as well, isn't there? Coming up. So that took us to Wednesday. Obviously, again, like I say, a working day. Now, you'll remember last week. Last week, we had stereo work going on with the house across the road that had the toilet installed, or the TARDIS, depending on how you look at it. And the one at the other end that was having the path laid. So there I am, Wednesday, feet up, thinking, right, nice quiet day. I'll just get some work done. Yeah, that was the idea. That was when the concrete mixing started. Oh, make it stop. So yeah, that was fun.
Johnny said he loved the show.
Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Jonathan.
And Brilliance wants to know where the brown sauce was. said we don't do brown sauce.
We don't do brown sauce. We have mayonnaise, we have tomato sauce, and we have Dylan
pickle, isn't it?
Dylan something relish, which was to die for. But no, not brown sauce. Never been a brown sauce fan. So yeah, Wednesday was quiet, not. Which took us to Thursday. Now, there we were sitting down to have dinner. What could possibly go wrong? But you guys know when we're on holiday, that's why there's a worldwide warning. So literally, I sat down and I picked up my knife and fork and I heard a noise. And the noise sounded like a car skidding. And that was followed by another noise, which was something hitting a brick wall at speed. So that was a good meal. Wasn't us, thankfully, but it was about 50 yards up the road, just the other side of the bollard it was. So as I picked my knife and fork up, I said to Mike, I think somebody's had a crash. So, of course, knowing Mike, typical bloke, up he got. His dinner was 300 degrees colder than it would have been when he finally sat down to it. Rubbernecking out of the window. There were more people than necessary to look after those that were injured in this thing. So we didn't go outside and add to the general melee, COVID and all that. But the workers who were laying the path at the house opposite dropped everything and went and helped them out. So they were all got out of the car and no serious, nothing life-changing, put it like that. Well, not for the wall. The wall life-changing, I would say, for the wall. The wall's history. The car probably, but everyone was okay. But yes, this is why we shouldn't be let loose on holiday. So that took us to today. So I decided to get some work done in the small hours of the morning. It was 1 o'clock. All was quiet. What could possibly go wrong? Now, spoiler, no, it wasn't another accident. Thank God, one was enough for the week. It's only a matter of time before somebody hits our wall, But it was 1 o'clock. And there I was working away and I thought, what's that noise? And it was a truck. And I thought, well, trucks go past in the middle of the night and they annoy me immensely. But, apparently I have to live and let live. I'm still in therapy for that, but we'll get there. And it stopped. But instead of turning the engine off, the engine carried on. I thought, what's that doing? Parked somewhere within the vicinity at 1 o'clock in the morning. When all the other noise started. So I was just about to get up and have a look, rubbernecking myself. And I thought, hang on a minute. It's 1 o'clock in the morning and there were scraping sounds of flagstones being moved and loaded onto the lorry. I thought somebody's nicking them. So I sat down again and let them get on with it. I am not Neighbourhood Watch. I am not going out there and saying, what you do with those stones at 1 o'clock in the morning. No, I enjoy my life too much for that. So yeah, that happened. That went on for about half an hour. Anyway, it happened again tonight, didn't it? About 8 o'clock. Yeah. So we don't know if it's like a thing or whether they were clearing up after themselves, but 1 o'clock in the morning, not really the time for doing that. So aren't you glad you live where you are and not here? Yeah, pretty much that's where I'm at. Right, let's go in and have a look at our subtle tweaks in Notion. Couldn't make this stuff up, honestly. Right, Notion have been quite slow in updating stuff lately, if you remember. They used to bring out an update at least once a month, and it was a meaningful update. They would say that there's this feature and this feature and this feature. But it's taken they've taken to levels which are basically, we fixed some bugs. They don't even tell you what bugs they fixed. They've just done some bug fixing. But even that is not every month anymore. So you can imagine my surprise when I tried something and something different happened, and Mike tried something and something different happened. And I said, I think they've updated this, but not told anyone. So there's two features in particular that make our life a whole lot easier. So let me get in and I will show you. So let's toddly off in there and toddly off in there. And somewhere I need to find in here. Come on. Don't be silly, mousy. Right, okay, let's get that back on here and get that full screen and take it down in size so we can see it. Right, so this is, oh, look at this for Jonathan. Jonathan might get far too giddy at this point because, you know, these dates and numbers for MacBites, Jonathan, they're actually happening, aren't they? I know, it's the first time ever. Don't get giddy with it. Okay, so this is just a page that I've got. I'm just going to use this as a demonstration. In fact, I will embed a page in it and we'll use the embedded page. So I will put a page in here. Right, embed a page. New page. Right. I'll show you the other one in MacBites, but I'll show you the first one in here because this is my favourite. I like this. All right. Peter said, got to admire my community spirit. I'm afraid, Peter, it's nothing to do with me. I am not going outside and tackling 6 burly blokes at 1 o'clock in the morning for the fun of it. No, it's not happening. They have an alarm, don't they? Isn't that the house with the alarm?
I think it is.
It goes off regularly every single day. What time did you say it was? Was it 1 o'clock?
About 12:15 to 1 o'clock.
You can set the clock by this thing. I don't care if they're stripping the joint, as long as they take the alarm with them. Don't mind. Not a problem. Right, so I've got a new page. One of the things that I like to do in here is say, like, let's say I've got a checklist. And I want to put the checklist in, but I would like the checklist to be a toggleable checklist. So within my checklist, I've got like item 1, which obviously I would want to then be a check like that, and item 2, and item 3, and so forth. Right. The way to do that was the way you've just seen me do it. And then the beauty of it is you can toggle it on and off like that. The problem with it was that when you came to create it, you ended up doing this. Right. Checklist. And when you pressed enter, you ended up below that with another checklist like that. Not good. I thought that was stupid from day one, but hey, that's how it works. So leave it be. Now something entirely different is happening. So if I'm down the page and I use a, what we call in these angle brackets, a greater than, I get a toggle. I then put in list name, name of list. When I press enter now, it takes me into the actual list. It's so tiny. That is a tiny tweak, but oh, that is good. So in here now, I can just start typing my items. If I'd have got, oh dear, I seem to have missed item 2. Right, let's just get rid of that. Right, if in there I'd have made that a toggle with a checkbox, then all I need to do is just keep pressing enter, and I don't need to move away and use the mouse to get inside the toggle. So previously, it generated you multiple toggle lists. It was ludicrous. It's been doing it for 3.5 years. But now it actually does the right thing. It takes you inside the toggle, and you can put inside the toggle whatever content you want. So you could drag in another toggle or images or anything you want. That is tiny, but it's good. You see, look, Jonathan's still awake and he's going, oh, I know the excitement. It's so tiny, that, but it's good. That is good. Now, the other thing that we do, if we go back to the MacBites page, we have MacBites shows here. So last week's, for example, that one, I might be going in and I might be checking this. So we have various information in here. We should actually have the show, shouldn't we? Yeah, that'd be good. Oh, I'm so bad. And I've actually marked that off as being complete, even though I haven't added the show. And we've always added the M4A, but now it seems to want an MP3. So I will, it should manage that, shouldn't it? It should manage that. If I drag in the MP3, there it is. Are you going to do that? There we go, just above there. All right, it's downloading that and it's installing it. Or maybe it's not. That didn't go well, did it? Wonder what's happening there. No, it didn't like that. It did not like that at all. It made another page. Never mind, I'll sort that out. Right, let's open this page. Right, the second thing that I'm talking about is we always have in here, we have the show notes URL, we have the show URL, and we, depending on what type of show it is, we might have other stuff as well. So in here, I have a link to our show notes. That's on the blog. And I have a link to this recording, which is actually the audio file. And what used to happen in here was I would put in the URL. So the reason that these are displaying with a link line underneath them to tell you it's a link is because the data field type is URL. But what used to happen was when you clicked in the field to go to the blog, you went into edit mode. If you actually wanted to visit the link, you had to scoot all the way over here and there was a button and that would link you to the URL. It's a pain in the backside. So Mike said the other day, have you made some changes in here? So I said, no, not if it's broken, nothing to do with me. If it's fixed, I did it. So he said, no, when I click inside here to edit that, look, it's a hand and it takes me out and it takes me to the link on the website. And I thought, I'll try that. And it does. So what they've done is they've totally flipped it. That's the file we don't want. Where were we in here? Oh, let me get this. What are you doing? You're being very awkward tonight. You really are. I was up here. That's where I was. Right. So they flipped it. If you want to edit that now, which to be honest, you're going to want to do a lot less than you're going to want to visit the link. So it makes much more sense that the button over here now is an edit URL button, which will take you in and edit the URL. So what's happened there where that's now editable, that used to be the default on a click on that field, and now it's not. That is what you get with the buttons over here. You get your little pencil icon to edit it, but now each of these actually you can go and visit the URL. Oh, it's tiny, but it's good. You see, I am appreciative of little updates, aren't I? I'm very good, I am. It's things like that that's just like a quality of life improvement. It's ever so tiny, but it makes such a massive, massive difference to workflow. So now I'm going to have to get my head around that, you know, the fact that that has not worked right for 3.5 years, it now does. And the other one, that works as well. So two tiny things, but could impact how you work with it, how you may be thinking, I'll click on that and I'll edit it. No, you won't. You go across to the other end and you click the pencil now. Okay, so tiny but good. I like good. I don't mind big as well as small, but there you go. So the clickable URL fields are now by default clickable. We didn't check, did we, if that's toggleable? I mean, it's not going to be toggleable, is it? They'll have just changed it and you just got to get used to it.
Yeah.
Everything should be up to me. I should decide. But, you know, in the absence of that. So you've got your clickable URL fields and toggles that actually work. They do, they work. It's brilliant. Again, tiny, tiny things, but it does make a massive difference. Okay, so moving on to Chrome. Right, you know we've been looking at Vivaldi. And I'm coming on this week and probably next week to the key features of Vivaldi that make it my number one browser. And one of those, I first tried out the feature in question in Firefox. And then when I went to Vivaldi, I thought, oh, this has got this feature as well. And that's what's coming to Chrome. So the one that I've got here is Chrome Canary. And Chrome Canary is the nightly builds where they give you access to features in beta. So it says you've been updated, and I had unceremoniously, and it didn't really give me much option to it. But it lists what's new. Now, not all of this is available in the standard version of Chrome that's out right now. So it's not all in that one, but it is all in this one. And if it makes the cut, then it will be tested in here and then transferred to Google Chrome rather than Google Canary. So Chrome Canary, which is the test version. So this is where they tried the tab stacks first and the audio stuff first. And I tend to use it when I want to open something without an ad blocker. And I test stuff in it as well. So I was really excited when they said, right, we're adding. So this is one thing they're adding, that you put a background in it and then it picks up colours from that background and tints your browser accordingly. So like Vivaldi, except without the Philips Hue bulbs. So that's one feature that they've added. You can now customise Chrome in that way. But the big thing that I just couldn't wait to try was they've added a sidebar. Now, a sidebar is where it's at as far as I'm concerned, which I will show you in Vivaldi. But before we get there, let's just have a look at what I mean, Google, they're massive, got more money than God. Oh, if they've put a sidebar, it must be amazing. Yeah, no, don't think that. Let me show you the sidebar. First of all, this is where the extensions are. I hate this implementation of extensions. Let me know what you think. But the extensions now you can have them spreading across your toolbar, you know, as far as you want to go. But I personally don't like the fact that you've got this jigsaw button, and that's the access to your extensions. So here's all the extensions that I've actually got in here, and there aren't many of them because I don't do too much in the way of extensions. But I have to have that button there to get you to be able to access them, and I don't like that. It's a waste of a button. And the only one I have at the top is my tab info. But because this is Canary, next to that we have this experiments feature. So what we can do in there, we go in there, and these are your experiments. So at the moment, side panels is the big newbie thing. Oh, this one's going to be amazing. And that I've already enabled, and that is why I have this little button there that we're going to be looking at. The tab scrolling thing, I've not done that yet. So when it says default, you can say whether it's enabled, whether it shrinks, and what happens to it. So at the moment, whatever the default is for Canary, that's what you'll get. And I honestly don't know what the default is. I'd imagine it's off. But there again at the bottom, that already says disabled, and it doesn't say it's disabled. So honestly, I don't know. I have no idea. About as much as idea as you have. But with the top one, I've got the default or on or off. So I don't know what the default was, but I wasn't seeing the option. So I've got a shrewd idea it's off. So I enabled it, then I rebooted, and that gave me access to that button there, which is the side panel button. And this one is your account. So you can either be logged in or just logged in as like person one. So it's not logged into your Google account. Up to you. But this was where it's at. So as soon as I'd got the button, I was like, away to the races. Show me what you've got. How amazing is this side panel? That's it. Much disappointment. It shows you your bookmarks. And so your bookmarks that would be available from up here, where I've got Hindi listed, there's all my Hindi bookmarks. I don't have many bookmarks in here because I don't use it that often, but that's what I've got. The bookmarks you have available from the toolbar and your bookmarks bar, there's my Hindi bar in there, are shown in this bookmarks panel at the side. Yeah. And you might be thinking I'm being overly critical here, but where's the ability to create a new folder, to create a bookmark, delete the bookmark, sort my bookmarks, search my bookmarks? Where's that? Oh yeah, that's not there. All it does is literally show them to you. So I thought, well, never mind. The reading list could be fantastic. Who knows? So I went to reading list. And I thought, oh. And I looked at the two stories. I've no idea how I ended up with these in unread. Because as far as I know, I've never used the thing before in my life. But it says 130 days ago. Apparently 130 days ago, the rumour was that Apple Pencil 3 was coming. Yeah, that never happened either. But that's it. So I don't know how those two got in there. But to add content to it, I just hit the add current tab button and it adds it. Awesome. And I presume I then click on that if I want to read it, and I click on the cross if I want to delete it. And that is all it does. Now you might be thinking, oh, she's been far too critical here. That's features that I've not got at the moment, and you would be right. But just hang around and see what web panels can do in Vivaldi. And then we'll come back and look at this, and we'll all laugh like the Smash Men again, because it's really poor. I said to Mike the other day, we were talking about browsers, and I said, do you know what? Certain browsers, yes, Chrome, I'm looking at you, haven't added anything meaningful since multiple tabs in 1997. Seriously, it's just tweaking, changing stuff that doesn't need changing for the sake of changing it, but not actually adding anything meaningful that helps me get work done. And this is a shining example of that. It only does that. Well, what if I want to open my Google Keep notes in the sidebar, and reference that while I'm searching the web, or make research notes while I'm searching? Yeah, well, you're not doing that, are you? Because that's not what it does. It's poor. Exactly, Kim. They got so excited. They saw the Vivaldi one and thought, oh, how could we take that and make it absolutely appalling? Yeah, that's what they've done with it. So that's Chrome Canary. If you want to try Chrome Canary, just do the Googles for Chrome Canary download, and you too will be able to try these things out before they go live. If feedback is that poor with that, they'll just bin it. They'll just pull it. But I think they think that's fabulous. It's not fabulous. It's poor. It's probably on a par with Safari, but we've not looked at web panels in Vivaldi yet, have we? Right, well, now you've seen that, prepare to be amazed. So, that was that one. Right, next thing. Next thing is still browsers. It's the Alfred's sanity-saving browser workflow. You're wondering, aren't you? Well, like I say, if you heard the show, that was what we talked about. It's not a spoiler, is it, when the show's been out 4 days? No. Do you want to? Shall I do the drum roll? And then you can announce what you're doing.
What am I doing?
He's forgotten what he's doing. Age is a terrible thing. What are you doing with Vivaldi?
Configuring it.
Switching.
Using it.
Using it. There's
Yeah.
a plan. Yeah. Because when I say something's fabulous, it usually takes Mike 10 years to catch up. But, you know, he's there.
I'm getting there.
He's getting there. So he's trying Vivaldi.
Although not right now.
No, you're in Chrome right now.
I'm in
but that's
Chrome.
for other reasons.
Because I had it open.
Right, but what was your main gripe, muscle memory boy?
Command space CHR.
So he's activating Alfred and then he wants a browser. And for the last probably 10 years, he's been typing the word Chrome. And that's not opening Vivaldi right now, is it? So this was what I suggested he do to fix that problem using Alfred. So let's head off and have a look at it. So inside Alfred, I created... Oh, do open on the right screen, dear boy. Right, I created in here. You've got options of how you use stuff, obviously. One thing you could do is actually cheat and change the meta of a file, but I'm not going to do anything like that. I wanted a way that synchronized between machines. So the way to do that is the workflows. So you need to be aware in here that your default results include the stuff in your applications folder. And that's where it's picking up Chrome from. And while you could rename Vivaldi to Chrome, that's probably not the way to go, is it? But best way to start, create a workflow. So I'll show you what the workflow does, which is I activate this and I type browser and it says open the default browser, which just happens to be Vivaldi. But if it wasn't, so I can do that and Vivaldi's activated on the other screen. So there's Vivaldi back again. If the browser wasn't Vivaldi all of a sudden, then I could change it back to Chrome. So if for a week Mike needs to work with Chrome for whatever reason. So I put it in the toggles, but I'm going to delete it. So you've seen it work. That's what we've got there. I've stuck it in another workflow with lots of other things, but it doesn't actually need to be in there. So what I'll do is I will create a new workflow to start with. So I've got all of these workflows that do various different things. But what we're looking for is a new workflow. So I'm clicking at the bottom. You can choose some workflows from here, which will give you a head start. You've also got examples. So it's actually a workflow that says, should I watch this movie? And you will type a movie name in and it will say whether it's good or not. So these are suggestions that they give you. Also give you some templates. So just so you're never starting from a blank workflow, you do have all of these things in here. But I'm going to go for a blank workflow. So this is me creating a workflow at this level, the top level here. So I'm going to name it in here. So this one would be, I can just put browser in there. Then you put the description of it. So controlling the default browser with Alfred. So something like that. Via Alfred. Right, you can put it in one of multiple categories, and I guess internet would maybe make sense, but then so would tools, so I'm just going to leave it at that. A bundle ID should be unique, so, and you don't really need one, but it is a good idea if you're writing stuff to put in here who created it. So I made this one and my website, so that's in there. Now the icon represents the workflow at this level, at this top level on here. So I need an icon to put in there. So I actually have an Alfred workflow. This is meta, isn't it? I've got an Alfred workflow where I can type icon and follow that with Vivaldi, and it will put the default icon from Vivaldi on my desktop, from where I can just drag and drop it into there. Very cool. And create. And at that point, I've got an empty workflow called browser. That text underneath is where I typed in what it's for. So that's there as well. Now, I will take you through what we had, because this was what we had, but I will do it from scratch. So it's 2 elements. This is the trigger. So I want this on the right to happen when I do that on the left. And this is a keyword. And the keyword is browser. So how you would actually do that, you've got your options up here. You can add stuff to this. So trigger, and in this case, you've got hotkey, remote, snippet, external, etc. So it's not a hotkey in here. I think I had it. Inputs are where you actually type something. So I said keyword. And then you get to put the keyword in. So I'm going to come back and configure that shortly. So let's just put that there. And the other one over here is what happens. What do you actually want to happen? So now I need to go and get one of those, and it's not a trigger, it's not an input, it's something I want it to do. So I would like it to launch an app. I want it to open Vivaldi. So I just choose that. It opens up this. Again, we're going to sort it out in a minute. So these are the 2 elements that have created this up here. So what's missing between them? Well, this one isn't configured, this one isn't configured, and they're not linked either. The 2 at the top are linked. So now I'm going to delete that one. We've seen it work. Let's get rid of it. Let's start from scratch. So it's these 2 elements here. So first of all, I'm going to double click that and say, when I type the word browser, I don't need to give it any arguments. I don't need to do anything other than type the word browser. And let's say in here we put default browser, or you could even put open default browser. The subtext is the little text that appears underneath it. So underneath this I could put open the default browser as defined in Alfred. So you know what you're doing. Right. Again, you've got an icon space there, and I might as well put the same one in because that's the one I want at the moment. And that's it. I just hit save. It won't do anything at the moment, so I could actually open up Alfred and I could type browser. And there's my open browser. It doesn't do a thing. Because I've not configured this, nor have I connected the 2. Now the connection points are these handles at the edge. And you can literally grab that and then drop it on the other one. And that creates a connection between it. So what happens in here will do what's defined in there now. So what's defined in here? It does actually give you some information there. So if you were thinking, I have no idea what to do with this, this is the instruction at the bottom. And what it's saying is, drop the files above to add them, you can drag to reorder them, and you can toggle the visibility. Right. So we know what app we want to open. We want to open Vivaldi. So first thing to do with that, I'm going to my applications folder. Here's all my applications. Somewhere in there, we're going to find Vivaldi. And I'm going to shrink this down so I can see both here. And I'm just going to drag it and drop it into there. And that's it. That has added it.
Kim says, I like that workflow with the icons. Is that for all your icons or just Vivaldi?
It's for all icons. So if I wanted the Excel icon, I'd just type icon Excel. If I want the Word icon. So this is when I'm working and I'm thinking, oh, I'm doing a piece on 1Password. And there's a 1Password icon. And it literally just stacks them up on the desktop. Whatever I want. There is an exception to that. It'll do it, but it's poor. And that is if I want something from iWork. So if I wanted Keynote, god-awful icon anyway. Looks like it's done it, but Apple have got sniffy. These icons, if you look at them, are all 1024. So all of these look gorgeous, really gorgeous. And then you get that one, and it's tiny. And it doesn't look grand on a slide. Imagine it's not pretty to start with. It's just that Apple don't want you stealing their icons. So a bit like my old job, they've hidden the kettle. They've taken the big icons away. That's just Apple. example. But it is any icon that you like. So any app that you're looking for, that you're talking about. I mean, if I would probably here be looking for Google Chrome, wouldn't I? As well. And there's the Chrome icon. Is that a big one or a small one? Oh, they've gone for mid-sized. Theirs is 512. So it's for all icons. Okay, so I've added the app. The only thing you have to think about in here is this toggle visibility thing. And what that means is, if I activate this by typing browser, if Vivaldi was already there, if it was already running somewhere, it would hide it, which in this case isn't what we want. So you can just leave that alone and save it. And that's it. That is totally all you need to do. So Mike's problem was he was typing this and getting Google Chrome and pressing it muscle memory before he'd even gone any further. If he typed Vivaldi, it'd be fine, but that's going to take time. And just like me, where I'm moving from Firefox, it's not uncommon for me to be typing and then think, no, I mean Vivaldi. So this is just a way to say, right, moving forward, whatever my default browser is, just type browser. That will open Vivaldi, which it will because it's over here. So if I minimize that and then we go back and do the same again, it will bring it back. So it's working. Right. But here's the power of it. If we go back into Alfred, it opens it up on the wrong screen just to play with my mind. Right. And we go find the browser thing, which is in here. It's this fast to make a change. In here, we don't have to make any changes at all, but it would make sense when we activate this to have the icon for our default browser. So one I didn't grab was Canary. Canary, right. So let's grab the icon for Canary. So let's say for whatever reason, because we love the sidebar, giggles, we want to change our default browser to Canary. Then it's as fast as this. This is our workflow. We need to make a couple of changes, but we'll go in there. And we will change that and save it. And we will go in here. And instead of having Vivaldi there, we will go to our applications. And just like we did before, applications, we will find Canary. Canary is in here somewhere. It's probably under Chrome Canary. Where are we? I've gone icon blind. Is it under Google Canary? It is, isn't it? Where are we? Canary. There we go. So got it. Drag that up there. And then because we don't want Vivaldi opening at the same time, you take that away and you save it. And that's it. Now when we go do it, and we type browser, open the default browser, and you'll notice it doesn't say open Vivaldi, it says open the default browser as defined in Alfred. And we'll do that, and boom, there's Chrome Canary. So you only have to remember that you want to browse somewhere, and Alfred will take care of the rest. So let's see that once more. Change the icon. You don't need to do anything else in there, but in here, you need to get Vivaldi, which is there. So drag that in and just get rid of that. Press the delete key. And now when I type browser, it opens Vivaldi, which is over here. So let me get that down to the bottom of the screen and we'll hide it. And then we'll do the browser, open default browser, and now it's opening Vivaldi. So it is, as I said, a sanity saving exercise, nothing more. I've got it configured. I'm going to give it Mike. So pretty much that would do it. So what I would do from there is export that. And this is where you get to put what version it is and what workflow it is and all of the rest of it and any variables that you want to put in. I don't think I need to put any more in there, to be honest. But let's say it's version 1.0 and export it. That will put it on my... Why do you want to put it in parallels? What's wrong with you? Right, so I'll put it on here. And there is a workflow. And all Mike needs to do with that when he gets it is double click on it and it will install it. So I just need to get it to Mike. So that's the black hole. And Mike now has a copy of it. And off you toddle with it. So no excuses for expletives from the Mike department. Just type browser and you're done. He's being very quiet at the moment. It's concerning me. Have you gone all quiet on me?
No.
Right, so that was that one done. Okay. Back in here. Oh, which brings us on to build with me with Vivaldi. So, do I talk fast? Okay. Video's 5 seconds ahead of the voice. Oh no, that shouldn't be happening. Kim likes the black hole. We know you like the black hole. It's good. Okay, so build with me Vivaldi. Right. We have been looking at Vivaldi. Vivaldi's just fabulous. Totally fabulous. The first week we looked at the supported platforms and the onboarding and that you could import data, although there would be an argument to leave that because you've got more control later. The tab positions, top, bottom, left, right. The speed dial, which is to die for. I actually discovered something about the speed dial this week when I was testing something else. The tab tiling, which we've looked at twice because that also is amazing. If I had to choose one feature, I'd be stuck to choose one feature. I would. But last week we started looking at the themes and the Philips Hue light bulb integration. I mean, why not? Absolutely, why not? And with another browser, if I was talking about another browser, you wouldn't dedicate a section to what the address bar can do. But in here, you really need to, because we were looking at the QR codes, doing bookmarks from there and all kinds of joy. And the reader view, because they were available from the address bar. So, part 3. And from memory, part 3, I promised bookmarks, didn't I? I did. But also web panels, so we can cross-reference it with the other thing. So, let's go in and have a look. Right, so I have got Vivaldi open. Might use some of those things, I'm not sure. But let's go get a new window. Okay, the thing that I discovered in here this week, which I thought was pretty amazing, was me playing around with, I'm using the new speed dial, but last week it looked like that. And that is based, I think we did look at some of the bookmarks, didn't we? In my resources in here, I've got all sorts of stuff in here. But in there, back you come. Resources, bookmarks bar, speed dial. And that's where they're coming from, speed dial. You can put a tick in a box and say, use the bookmarks in this particular folder for the speed dial. So I'm playing around with it and I put a tick in another box and I got 2 totally different speed dials. Oh, how good is that? I've also got my bookmarks, my history, my notes, and my calendar, but I've got 2 speed dials. So if you're working on multiple projects, they'll just spread across the top, just like Speed Dial 2 does in any other browser. And Speed Dial 2 does work in Vivaldi. I was just having problems with it focusing the address bar. That was why I decided to try the speed dial, but I'm loving that. I am absolutely loving that. So, bookmarks. Bookmarks are accessible in a million different ways. So I have my bookmarks up here. I've been naughty and I put 2 bookmarks on there that would normally go in my inbox. But I have mine organised with Para, which is I have an inbox at the top. And then underneath that, I only have 4 folders. 1 for projects, so they are current projects. So a current project for me would be this week's MacBites, or it would be a course that I'm designing, a webinar that I'm doing, something like that. Then there's areas. So these would be areas of focus like the whole of MacBites or the whole of Brooklands 196 stuff. Then there are resources. So that would be things like references that I want, that I refer to many times. They're not attached to a specific area. They're just general resources. So for instance, one of the things that I have is ratios. So in Alfred, I type rat. And you'll see underneath it says 16:9 open ratio calculator. Right. That opens up this site. And if I've got a video and it's 640, it tells me that the long side is 640 and the short side is 360. If it's a 16:9 ratio. So this is just a site that does that. But I have that on Alfred. But that's the kind of thing that if I was in my bookmarks, I would put it in my resources in there. So that's one example of that. What else have I got? Archive. So if there's stuff where I've done the project, but I'm not sure I want to bin anything yet, but I don't want it cluttering up anywhere else, I put it in the archive. Would I leave it there long term? No. There are other ways that I could work with that. I could archive them off with the project. So I wouldn't leave things in the archive forever and ever, amen. I don't know if there's much in there now. There's some stuff in there. But no. So for instance, one of the things that's in the archive is Build a Second Brain. And that's because that's over. So I don't need those links on a regular basis 20 times a week at the moment. So it's in the archive. What I would probably do with those links, because it's silly to me to have those synchronizing. Why do you need them? You're not going to need those links. But if you do ever need to go back to them, then put them with the project. I will show you how I would archive them off to a project later on in the series. But that's how I organise my bookmarks. Now, from here, the only thing you can actually do, you can navigate to a bookmark. You can use this top option, and it said bookmarks. That's like bookmark management then. Or you can add the active tab. So that's all you can do from there. You can't in a menu start reorganising stuff. But that's one place where you will see your bookmarks in Vivaldi. Let me know in the chat, which option do you use to access your bookmarks? You use the bookmarks bar, don't you?
I use the bookmarks bar.
I never use the bookmarks bar. I configured it all, and I never use it. I just never use it. I very, very seldom use bookmarks, full stop. Because if I've been to the place before, I can start typing it and it'll take me there. So I very seldom use bookmarks. Probably the most frequently I would use it is something like when I'm doing a course or delivering a course and I've got the course homepage. But even then, in terms of bookmarks, are you using the menu? Probably not. I'd probably make a speed dial for it and do it that way. But let me know, how do you access your bookmarks? We have one vote for the bookmarks bar. Yay! The panel. Oh, the panel. The panel's good. We'll take a look at the panel. But that's what we've got there. Now, the speed dial separate, and we looked at that last week, but we'll go to my blog. Now, see, there's another reason why I don't use bookmarks, because that is in Typinator. I type section key EG, takes me to my blog. So I'm at my blog and I would like to go somewhere else. Well, one option that you've got is the bookmarks bar. So when I bring my bookmarks bar up, it is actually the things I'm likely to use. It's the flight deck that's in Notion. So that's like my dashboard. And CCS is content creation system. The comms is, I would frequently access the comms because I'm frequently sending emails. MacBites 2.0 is the MacBites 2.0 dashboard, which we've seen tonight. That is MacBites 2.0, with dates that get Jonathan giddy. My content items is my content items view, stuff that's coming up that I need to write, record, research, anything like that. Brooklands 196 2.0, you'll notice the 2.0 thing here, is another dashboard. So this time it's a dashboard just for Brooklands, the upcoming stuff we have for Brooklands. And what else have I got? Oh, Otter, where I have stuff transcribed. And I did set them up, and those are sites that I would use frequently, and I just never use the bookmark bar. But I am toggling that off with Command Space and B. And if you remember that, it works in most browsers. So that's your second option. You've got your bookmarks bar at the top, your bookmarks menu rather, and you've got your bookmarks bar. Neither of those let you do much in the way of management. They're merely accessing them. And depending on how you work, one or other of them may make more sense in certain situations. But in addition to that, we also have in Vivaldi a proper Google Take Note sidebar. Oh, we do. That we can toggle on. Now that's my notes. It might look like it's not notes because it's inbox and it's parrot. So if we just fold that up, that's perfectly parrot. And I don't have many notes, but there is notes. But it's bookmarks we're looking at. And bookmarks is the first option. So you can see in here, you have got exactly the same. It's replicated from your bookmarks in the menu and in the bar. But this time you've got extra stuff. So you have a deleted folder where you've deleted some stuff and you can get things back from there. You've also got a search at the top. And you can add and delete bookmarks. You can add and delete folders. You've got complete organisation in this side panel. So just in case you've forgotten the laughable sidebar, bookmarks.
Patricia says her Command B doesn't work. Any idea why?
Command Shift B isn't working. It's Command Shift B. It's not Command B, it's Command Shift B.
Command Shift B.
Try that one instead. So that's why I laughed like a hyena at that. Just look at it. It's ridiculous. Right, by comparison, you can navigate to a bookmark and go to the page, and that's it. That's totally it. In here, I can search my bookmarks. I can add new ones. I can take ones away. I can create a folder. In here, I can drill down to my actual projects. What projects have I got in there? Got all kinds of stuff in there. Right. And for instance, these two would be for me to work with. So I can actually grab these and shove them up there. I can actually manage my entire bookmarks from the sidebar. One of the things we had in here, so bookmarks bar is where my bookmarks bar is coming from, and my speed dial is coming from this one, and that's why there's a tick in the bottom. Right, let's find a link and add it and do clever things with it and show you the difference there. Yay, Patricia's got it working. Fantastic. Right, so let's say I wanted to save this bookmark. There is a shortcut and it works in every browser. It's Command and D. And that will save a bookmark. Now, one of the changes Vivaldi made, they made this change and I thought, whoa, no, what are you doing? Don't do that. If I Command and D, it saves it. It just dumps it in the root. So it did it. It's over here. What are you doing? Right. If you want to save a bookmark and you don't necessarily want it in the root, instead of saving the bookmark, use this button in the address bar, which is the bookmark page. And it means bookmark this page. It's not going to take you anywhere. It's going to bookmark this page. But if you've noticed, that already is the bookmark itself is coloured in. It's got the white colour on the inside. If I were to delete that, so I've deleted the bookmark, it's gone into deleted bookmarks. This now is not coloured in. It's only got an outline on it. So it's savvy enough to know if it's in the bin, you've deleted it. But one option is Command and D, and it will just dump it in the root of here. But if you use this button instead, it says added bookmark. Indeed it did. So it's added. And at the moment, it's going to add it to the bookmarks, the top folder, that top folder. But this is where you can, at the point you make the bookmark, you can be clever with it. So at the moment, it says Elaine Charles, and it's got the URL. Nickname. What's a nickname? I wonder. Well, it's my blog. So what if I called it blog? There is a description. It's picked up from the site. And then there's where you're going to save it. So you could choose to save it in your bookmarks, but you could also choose to add it to your speed dial. And down here, both of these folders have a tick in. Both of them are speed dial sources. So it wouldn't make sense to put my blog in the Blue Yeti course, but it might do to put it in the speed dial. So I'll click on there. So I've done exactly the same as I did before when I just used Command and D, but now I've been clever with it. I've been able to change the name if I wanted, add a nickname, change the description, put it in a specific place. And I can just hit done. If I've totally changed my mind with like, oh, what was I thinking? This is a really bad idea. Then you just hit remove and you will have changed nothing in your bookmarks. But I'm going to say done on that. And it will have put it in here. So in here, in my speed dial, there is my bookmark. So it's done it okay. But here's what's fantastic. Right, so we now have a new page. I may or may not have my sidebar showing. May or may not have anything else showing in terms of I'm deep in my Blue Yeti course. I'm not actually on my speed dial. That would be a mouse click. Here's my bookmark. So let's say I go into it, new page. I want to get to my blog and I don't want to take my hand off the keyboard because that's where madness lies. So I just want to do it in here. Well, I could just type blog, couldn't I? Because I gave it a nickname. There is nothing with the nickname thing that... Oh, actually, that's not true. There is. Yeah, the nickname thing means that when you type whatever your keyword is in here, even if it's a proper word like blog, it will navigate to that website before it does anything else. Typinator sort of does that. You've seen me with my blog. So if I wanted to go to MacBites and I type section key MB, that will expand. It's a text expansion and it will go to MacBites. But I have to remember some hieroglyphics to make it work. Whereas a nickname inside Vivaldi, I don't. I can just do whatever. I can put whatever word in I want, and that is where it will default go to. So the nickname thing, quite handy. Liking that a lot. So let's get back into here. You can in here obviously search for anything with Elaine Giles in it. So if we put elainegiles.co.uk, oh, I've gone terribly wrong there, .co, then it picks that up. It should pick it up if I actually type Elaine Giles, but there's all these other things that I've got Elaine Giles in as well. Ship 30 for 30 and all other kinds of stuff. Oh, a lot. That's probably not the best search option. I'd be interested, can we search by name? Does that come up? It does. So we could search by nickname by typing blog in, but then it would depend on what the nickname was as to whether that was any use or not. I just think that is stunningly amazing. It is. It's stunningly amazing. You even in here, so let's not forget, laughable version. That isn't even like the minimal viable product, is it? It's just like a child of 3 has got a crayon and said that's basically what it should look like. It doesn't need to do anything as long as it looks like that.
Pete says, can you explain the difference between speed dial and a normal bookmark?
Okay. A normal bookmark is going to be in all the places in Vivaldi you would find a normal bookmark. So it would be in the bookmarks menu, it would be in the bookmarks bar, it would be in the bookmarks panel over here. There's also a couple of other places that you would find it. But a speed dial is when you say new tab, you see a speed dial. It's right in front of you. And that is, it's a standard bookmark, but you've put a tick in a box to say, everything in this particular folder, I want you to treat like a speed dial. And it will appear in here as basically a page. So I've got my, in here, here we go. Oh, that actually says specific page. But I've enabled the speed dial, right? So when I get a new page, it goes to there. That's what I see. And these are the bookmarks that I see. So my default speed dial looks like that. And I use those all the time. They're no different in terms of how they're created or whatever, except the fact they've got a graphic. But apart from that, I mean, this one hasn't because I've not visited it yet, so it's not generated a thumbnail, and I haven't added a graphic in. These graphics that are in here, I've actually added them in, except that YouTube one that appeared by magic. So there's no difference apart from the fact that anything you put in a speed dial folder will appear in this view, whereas nothing else will. So anything that's not in a folder that you've said this is a speed dial, you won't see it in this view. And to be honest, that's probably the way it should be. Because if you start overloading this, it becomes a lot less useful. My original speed dial thing, I think the first one had about 30 in it. And you don't use anything below the fold because you've got to scroll and then you need to click the mouse. So if you could have in there probably about 15, maybe 20, because I'm on a very small screen, remember, then it's useful. Those are the ones I go to all of the time, so they make sense. These ones, I'm building this up, but this was just a test to see if it would work. So I've got 2 sites that I've got references on quality of video that's required. What I would put in there is I'd have a link to the Notion thing to manage it. I would have a link to the files in Dropbox, and these would be direct links to it. So standard bookmarks, but I want to see them as a speed dial, so I can just say Command and T, new page, and click, and I'm there. And it's obvious which is which because I would have had custom thumbnails. So hopefully that explains that. Pete says it's a priority bookmark for when you open the browser rather than a display all. Yeah, it's the ones that are important to you. So some people might have, like, if there's certain things they do in the morning, then they could have multiple speed dials on here, and they could have, like, you know, morning routine, lunchtime routine, before I leave for work routine. And then you could, so in the morning, don't check your email. Don't check your email first thing in the morning is the rule, isn't it? And how many of us don't check our email first thing in the morning? It's the first thing you do when you open your eyes. You're not even out of bed and you've checked it.
True.
So I think we all do. But the things you should be doing in the morning. So if, for instance, you're using something like Todoist, so an online to-do manager, then open that. Open whatever makes sense. But it could be by time, so morning, afternoon and evening. It could be by project, which mine is. So I've got a generic one called Speed Dial, but a dedicated one to the course, for the course. So, but I could have sort of one for MacBites. So by function, whatever makes sense to you. And it's really simple to have a set of bookmarks and say, today, this is a speed dial, but it's not going to be a speed dial tomorrow. So when that course is finished, I'll just take the tick out of the box and that's it. All the links will still be there. They just won't be speed dial links at that point. So hope that clarifies that. Also, from within here, which is your speed dial, but you can get to it other ways, you have bookmarks. And you might be thinking, well, just a minute. We've got a bookmarks menu. We've got a bookmarks bar that we can toggle on and off. We have a bookmarks panel that we can toggle on and off. What on earth do we need another one for? Ah, glad you asked. That's your proper bookmarks manager, that. Oh, look at this. So let's fold it all up so you can see that it's exactly the same. So it's the same bookmarks, but this is the dedicated manager. This is for the heavy lifting. This is when you realise you've got far too many bookmarks and you're going to sort them out. Hence it having numbers in here rather than the address. It would have addresses if there was actually an address. So this is, I've no idea. Oh, this was something I was reading on Rome Stack. So there's the address for it. I've also got Rome Book Club 5 and I've got my Ship 30 for 30. So my Ship 30 for 30, look at this lot. These are all things that I need to access on a regular basis and check. My Blue Yeti one, I've only got a couple in there and they're test ones. They're just going to Udemy. That was me testing it out. But that's what I've got in projects. And you can manage in here. It's a full view. You can search. You can add new. You can delete bookmarks. You can create new folders. It shows you the address, it shows you the nickname, and it even gives you the description. So you could probably scoot that up a bit so you could see the description more. I would think seeing the description was probably more use. Nicknames are going to be fairly short, I would have thought. This is also where you can import more bookmarks, but you can also do that from file and import from application or files. Either way, it's going to import bookmarks. You hit on import, you do get, which is why I leave it. I leave it to here because in here it shows me all of the browsers I've got installed and it lets me be incredibly granular with what I can bring in. Whereas the initial import is like, yep, just bring them in and stick them in a folder. This way I can say, no, I don't want the mail or I don't want the speed dial or whatever I don't want. I can leave that. Right, I'm seeing a question. Remember when I said my Vivaldi closes and closing, lose all the logins, etc. What am I setting wrong? You're pinning bookmarks at the left. Okay. Yeah, I should have probably mentioned that in relation to that. If you're losing the login, it makes me wonder if you're opening them all in a private window and it doesn't save stuff from a private window. That would make sense. In here with mine, so let's go back to in here. When I toggle my panels on, my panels are on the right. My panels are on the right because I moved them. Because on the left, I've got my pages. So my tabs are on the left. Most people have the tabs across the top. Can't work with the tabs across the top. Not anymore, I can't. Because I have pin tabs. So if we look at this, let's bring on my other window. Right. This is what I have open on a regular basis. So I've got my Rome notes at the top. And then I've got MacBites, which normally is set to MacBites 2.0. So it's my dashboard. I know what's going on with my dashboard. Then I have the content items open. And then I have the next after hours. Well, actually, I have the next show. So today's After Hours is the next show, followed by Tuesdays. Oh, this is so good, isn't it, Mike? Tuesdays at MacBites. So those two are open because of the next show. My icon kit is because I'm doing that. The build with me I'm doing. The Scrivener I'm doing. This is ship 30 that I've got open. So my ship 30 is possibly not in a good place to view. Oh no. But I've got some backfilling to do. Let's just say that. But these are at least all done up to 21. Went live earlier. Then I've got some more ideas I'm kicking around. I need to backfill these into it, but that is why that's open, because I'm actively working with it. Then I have my inbox, and then I have my calendar, and then I've got my live stream controlling YouTube. That line means that the open tabs above it are all pinned. So whereas this one, I could click that close button. Not that I'm going to. That would be bad news because we're live streaming. I don't have a close button on these because they're pinned. But the reason that I like to have them on the left is so I can see the text. So sometimes, I might have 4 or 5 episodes of MacBites open or After Hours, and they're all going to have the same icon. And if they're pinned and they're across the top, all I'm going to see is a single icon. Now, as it happens tonight, those icons are all different, but there's many times they're not. I'm sorting a series out across 4 shows. Then I may have the tabs open for 4 shows, and that's why I have them over there. By default, these panels are on the left. Makes sense to me to put them on the right, but they perform the same way. It's just they're in a different place. So we were in our bookmarks. So this is heavy duty bookmark management. I have come in here, but as you can see, I literally don't have that many bookmarks. And probably half the ones in here I would do something else with. I tend to put bookmarks with the project rather than carry them around like they're my life's work, because they're not. They're just bookmarks. I did have in Chrome at one point something like 3,000 bookmarks, and they were neatly dated and stuff. And honestly, I thought, are you ever going to sit down and sort these out? Bin them. If you want it, you'll find it. You'll go and Google or you'll find it. Right, you're not using a private browser at all. We're going to have to troubleshoot this. I've never heard of anything like that. Yep, we'll have a look at it. So I could probably sit in here all day with it, but it's fairly self-evident what it does. It just gives you a bigger view to do it than the panel does. But I love the fact that it's a proper tool for doing it and not an afterthought. Do you know what an afterthought looks like? Yeah, that's an afterthought, isn't it? That's a child with the stubby crayon. This is a powerhouse to manage stuff, not an afterthought. Anything that you could possibly want to do in terms of bookmark management, you can do. It's as simple as that. So that one I toggle on and off. So I have learned all of the toggles for these. That one I toggle on and off with Command, Control and B. Or do I? Oh no, that only toggles it on. Does that? No, it doesn't. That's right. It's Command and W to close it. But it is Command, Control and B to bring it to the front. And then close it when you're done. Right, so that's the bookmarks. In terms of, is there any other places to access bookmarks? You've got access to it from up here, but it takes you to the same place. And other than that, I think you're done. You will find that there is some magic coming up. I don't want to overload you in 1 week, but there's some magic coming up, and you can access bookmarks from the magic. So we'll look at it then. But the next thing that I was going to look at...
Patricia's problem looks like a password problem, not...
Preferences several times, two-step verification.
Not a Vivaldi problem.
If you've got two-step verification on, then can you tick a box and say don't bother me next time? Have a look, Mike. Have a look. I know it doesn't do that with me, so there must be some setting that's different. We will have to just work out which one. Right, so panels. We've looked at bookmarks. We're now going to look at panels. So as I said, the panels are what you get over on the right hand side, but yours will be on the left because I moved them. And what they fall into 2 categories. You have your default web panels, and your default web panels are the ones with the white icons. So it's like an outline in white. So in here, everything up to, that was handy, wasn't it, Rome, making it black and white. Everything up to the calendar here, so the first 6 on there, are internal web panels default to Vivaldi. So we have bookmarks at the top, and you've seen how we've used that. You've also got downloads, so I've got all kinds of stuff that I've downloaded here. This is my downloads manager. And again, this isn't like something that's like an afterthought. You can search these downloads for something. You can pause a download. You can restart a download. You can remove a download. If you've downloaded something you don't want somebody else to know about, you can get rid of it. Or you can actually remove all the ones that are finished if you want. You can sort them by date, but you can also sort them the other way by date. So I'm sorting them ascending or descending there. And then for each individual one, so I've got like these warm watercolours here. Where were these from? These were Creative Market stuff I downloaded today. And it gives you so much information about that. For a start, you highlight it and there is the magnifying glass. That will actually take you and show you that file in the Finder, which it has. So over there, that is what that looks like. It shows it you in the Finder. But with that highlighted, if you look down here, obviously you've got the name, but the name is also shown at the top. You've got the size of the file and how fast it downloaded. You've got the URL, so where did it come from? Where did it go to? So it's in my downloads folder at the moment. When it started and when it finished. I mean, it's just stunning. All that information. Now, Mike, when he did his switch, the first thing he said to me was, where's my download gone? I mean, my download. I've just downloaded this file. I can't find the download. And it was because Mike's used to the download bar appearing at the bottom of Chrome. So it automatically appears. I forgot to mention with Mike, actually, that if you want that to happen in Vivaldi, if you want this panel to pop up when you download something, you can set it up to do that if you want. So in our preferences, let's go get our preferences. I thought that was a preference window. It's not the preference window. Now the mouse has gone missing. Right, here's the preference window on the other panel, but it's coming on. Right, in here, we will look at these preferences, but we're going to be dipping in and out, looking at odd things, but it goes on forever. Not even kidding. If you showed all the preferences, just look at all the preferences. We'd be there forever. So we'll dip in and out, and I will show you some of the highlights specifically later. But in terms of downloads in here, you have a dedicated section to downloads. So the first one is, where do you want to download them? And do you want to save them to the default location without asking? Well, yes, obviously. But I think Mike changed his download folder, and maybe you want to be prompted at each point. Then it says update the default location if you choose a different one. Then there's open the download panel automatically, which would probably help you, wouldn't it?
I've just ticked that.
He's put a tick in that box. Now he knows he can. The tick's there, baby. So if you want that popping up, you can, and it will give you quick access to it. Another way to do it, which is the way I do it, is I have notifications turned on. So Vivaldi gives me a notification that the thing's downloaded, and if I click that notification, it takes me to where the download is anyway, and I don't have to constantly open and close that panel. But that's just me. Mike wants that on, it's on. And then you can be notified on completed downloads, and that's the notification that I've enabled. So all I do is click the notification instead of having that panel fly out. But in essence, although that's one of the sections that's got the fewest options in, the 5 options you've got are more than you need to make it your own. So Mike's is behaving in a totally different way to mine, but it's still Vivaldi. You wouldn't get that with Chrome, would you, Mike?
No.
Right.
Kim says, can you copy that download meta and paste it elsewhere?
Some of it's live, so you could rename something and you could use this as a link and get to it. If what you wanted was to do that with it, so you wanted to take that text and put it somewhere else, then what you would need to do is, I've just used the shortcut key, and now it looks like it's going to take a picture, but it's not actually a picture. It's going to take that text, and it's copied the text to the clipboard. So if I now get somewhere that we can see that, So let's get a new one of these and paste it in. Oh, I see the mouse is having a moment. It's having a big moment this week. Where are you? Right. It's not going to be perfect. So that it was a symbol, but we can get rid of that and we can get rid of that symbol. So to some degree, you can capture what you can see. If you want to see more, so you've got actually, you can see the links we've got. It just stops where it goes ... If you wanted to do that, then what you could do is widen this or use the download manager. So as long as you can see it, yes. So if we do that again, and all I'm doing is doing a capture of that text. Let's get that back on. Get rid of that and paste it in. Now I've got the full links. Now, how am I doing that? That's an app called Text Sniper. So if we do download Text Sniper, it should take us out. Let's get rid of the side panel. This is Text Sniper. It's quite cheap. Don't buy it right at this second because there's an offer on it. You can get it for $3.99, I think. I got mine from the App Store. I can't be doing with activated stuff and it's activated. But all it does one thing and it does it well. So if I wanted to capture this text, all I would need to do is use the shortcut key that I've given it and highlight it. And it copies it to clipboard. It does it so quickly. So even if there's more text, have we got a little bit more text? I do not want to go to the App Store or the BBC. So let's grab something like that where there's a little bit more. It literally takes a second and it's done. Snagit can do that, but it takes a lot longer. So that, again, that is pastable. So if I go into text edit and we put that down there, anything it copies, boom, you're done. So think about linking the two apps or more than one app with that. So hopefully that's about as good as you can get, Kim. You may be able to get more information from more things by using the download manager rather than just the panel. But like I say, you can stretch the panel out as well. So hopefully that will help. So we've done bookmarks, we've done downloads. But the thing with the downloads is just what else you can do with it in terms of searching and stuff. I must admit, with the downloads, in Chrome, it was like, okay, the bar flies up at the bottom. First thing I do is close the bar. That's so annoying. I actually made a keyboard maestro workflow. So I just had one shortcut key that scaled it all back and got rid of the bar. But in there, I had another shortcut key that brought up the download manager, which is a totally different window in Chrome, which would enable me to search and find and stuff. And all I tended to do with it was just clear the detritus and leave it be. This one is actually usable. The ones that are in here that look like, yeah, that looks fine, I can highlight it. If we go down to some of these, there's some stuff in here like these, and they're not there anymore. That's why they're dimmed out. So I downloaded them, and it will tell me when I downloaded it, and it will tell me I downloaded it to there, but it's not there anymore. So you've moved it somewhere, but you did download it. So why leave it there if you can't go and find the file? And that's why instead of a magnifying glass, it has a minus sign. Well, the beauty of that is like, well, I can click on here and I can go and get it again. So I know I downloaded it, I can't find it, but I did download it. It was that one, and then I can go and get it again. So that is there. I think that's really useful, but that's just me. Right, the next one you've got is your history. This is fascinating. Oh, I've got all sorts in here. This one is early. I could do with this being today, couldn't I? This is back in March where I was looking for something. And that is how good this actually is. That you can search a date range. You can search the whole thing. You can search a date range. You can search a pre-configured date range. So do you want to just look at today? Do you just want to look at yesterday? Was it somewhere you've been in the last 7 days or the last 30 days? Or do you want to search all of the history? These are the options that you have. They're pre-configured. Date range gives you complete control. So I think I was looking for April for something for the show, wasn't I? And we'd worked out it was in April. So that was why I put a date range in. But you can put all of the history in and it will search the lot. So if I go all the way back, look at this here. Look at how much history that is going through. The little thing here, if I stop that, this goes all the way back. And you can see it goes all the way back when? 2017. Now, I didn't own this machine in 2017. So what happened there? And what happened there was I had a Vivaldi account and I synchronized it to my Vivaldi account. So the fact that it was 4 years ago and the fact that I didn't even own this machine, I can still search for it. That's why I never delete the history. I will find it, definitely. So that's the history panel. There are other ways to access the history. You have tools, and within tools you have history. The shortcut for your history is always the same. Command and Y, which is like at the end. Good night, Pete. I'm glad to have had you with us. Oh, what's this? Carol says I use it all the time since I mentioned it. What did I mention? Oh, Carol, don't keep me in suspense. What did I say? Right. From the history, under that, you then have notes. The notes, I'll be honest, I dismissed. I looked at it. They added this feature in the last year, and I thought, cool feature to have. But if you're working cross-browser, I've got no access to my Vivaldi notes in any other browser. So I decided it would have been wiser to have a panel that had Google Keep in it. And that is actually what I created at the bottom. There is my Google Keep. So it doesn't matter if I'm in Firefox or anything else that has a decent sidebar. So yeah, Firefox, that's about it, because you're not doing that in Chrome. But this is cross-platform and cross-browser. But I've warmed to the notes. They are actually very good. So let's say I was researching this and I wanted to think, oh, it's got text to speech. That's amazing. All right. Then what I could do in here, I could be researching. So I'd go to my project and I could in there put a folder, and the folder has a name at the bottom. So this could be me researching Text Sniper and doing a review. Right, so I've named the folder. There's the folder. And now I want to put a note in there with this. So I'm actually thinking about this and thinking, yeah, the two things that are quite important to me are how lightning fast it is and the text-to-speech stuff. That's quite good as well. So one option I've got, and we did have a very brief look at this, but we're going to look at this in more detail down the line, is that I have, not that one, I have that one, and that gives me access down here to this camera. So I've got this option down here, and I can choose whether I have a full page or a selection, and I want a selection, and I can create a new note with it. And so I can literally do that, and then whatever I draw around here, once I've clicked that, it will make a note, and the note goes down there with the picture, and I can say, you know, great feature, or check this out, whatever, and I can drag that up to my review, up there. Once I open this up and I start looking at my notes, I've actually got there the image that I took the screenshot of, actually in the note, and any notes that I then add to it. Right, so let's go back in there. So the next feature I wanted to look at was this text-to-speech. That's a good one as well. So let's say fast and great speech feature. Right, so I'm going that's my notes. Rather than me start typing it, I could up here add a screenshot. So I could go and get another one, and it's taken me that screenshot. It's just quickly added a screenshot to it for me. Other option I've got in here is, so that's the first button. The second button that I've got in there will add a capture of the selected area. So while that gave me a full screenshot, with this one, it's a little bit too much, so I'll get rid of it. And I'll go back and I'll just do this, and I'll just draw around the bit I want. And then I can take these screenshots and actually dump them in the presentation. They're just attached to this note. If I've got some screenshots or information on my computer that I want to add to this note, then that's what the third button does. attach a new file. So if there's a file on my computer, I can add it to this note in here by clicking that button. And the last one I've got is switch to Markdown view. And Markdown view shows me the note, but now I'm not in edit view. So if I want to be in here, I've clicked the wrong button there, that one. This is my edit view, but once it's a note and I want to use it for reference, then I can just click the button and it kind of locks it. And I've got the address of where the note, what site I was looking at when I added the note. And I've also got the date and time that it was put together. So actually the notes are not, they're more useful than I gave them credit for, let's put it like that. I would probably use them very selectively because I do have other solutions for notes. And if I'm researching, I'm probably going to put it into Notion probably, or Roam, one or the other. But for quick notes and for specific jobs, this is a really good alternative. One of the specific things is Vivaldi. So inside my resources, let's forget the projects now. In my resources, there are resources for Vivaldi. And one of the things is, I know we've not looked at this in detail, but my midnight orange settings for Vivaldi, you can't synchronize the themes. It's just, there's a dirty hack, if you remember, which we'll be looking at in the dirty hack episode of this series. But one of the ways you could do it is actually type in the numbers. So what I mean by that is, I have in the preferences, in the themes, I have my midnight orange, and I could edit that there, and these are the numbers that I am interested in. All I need to do to back that up is take a screenshot. That's it. Just take a screenshot of that. So if I scroll that up, so we've got everything in it, right? I could then take a screenshot. I'm wondering if it will let me take one in here, but possibly not, because I'm not actually looking at a browser window. So I'll do it this way, where I will, so I'm using Snagit, and I'm just going to draw around that. Those are the settings that I want. That will open up this, so I'll get that over there. So I've got the image that I want, and I'm going to put that on the desktop. I know I shouldn't, but I'm going to. Right, so it's on the desktop, and I will rename it Midnight Orange Theme Settings. Hopefully that's what it'll say when I've finished. Right, so I can get rid of this, but in my notes in here, I can use this option, and it's pointing to the desktop. There's the orange theme settings. So I'll click open, and it adds that at the bottom, and it opens it up in there for me. So there's my screenshot. And that is something that is actually useful in there. It would also be quite useful to type them in, so I could copy and paste them. So, and that synchronizes across all my Vivaldi installs. So it's a really good option. I don't need those settings anywhere else. So although I've got this Google Chrome thing, Google Keep, why put them in there? Because then they'll be bothering me in Firefox. So keeping those in the Vivaldi notes is the perfect use for it. So that's the notes feature. Again, it's fully featured this. There's search, you can add, you can delete, you can organise by folder. We are not talking something that is an afterthought. You also have, when we look at in here, our notes, and that actually brings you up a full management utility. So again, we're in exactly the same place. We've looked at the speed dial for the Blue Yeti, the speed dial standard. We've looked at bookmarks. We've looked at history. Well, we've not looked at history yet. Not all of it. That's next time. But there's a notes view. And again, it's fully featured. You can do whatever you like. This view, in terms of creating notes, is even better. Because down here, it's got styles with it. And whether you have it bulleted lists, whether you indent it, whether you add a link, even more so. So actually, these are not normally when a browser company says we've added something. Shall I show you what that looks like? You know what I'm going to do, don't you? That's normally what it looks like. You're like, are you kidding me? There's barely anything there. It's so not even usable. It's just a suggestion of a feature that might mature as long as I live long enough. But when Vivaldi say they've added a feature, it actually works. It does something. There are features, there are options. It's amazing. So I do like that one. Right, let's close down that and look at the other type of web panel that you have. So I do have in here, I went fully loaded, so I do have the calendar thing, which I'm not going to look at. But I have here my window manager. And my window manager is managing this particular browser window that I have open. So I've got 2 start pages open for a start, which I can from here actually close down. And I've got the MacBites page and I've got my page. So you don't even need the tabs open on the other side. If you want to navigate, you can use this to navigate. But if you've got 50 or 100 tabs open, it gives you the option to search for them. You can add extra tabs and so forth. You can actually open up an entirely new window with it. Again, it's got features, which a lot of them don't. Night, Deborah. In fact, it's morning, Deborah, isn't it? Good morning. So again, just really useful. I've never used a window manager on any other browser. I've always seen it as like, oh, what's the point? You know, it hardly does anything, so don't bother. And that's why I don't bother. Now, the other type of web panel, those web panels everybody has. You look at Vivaldi now, you've got those web panels. But you can also create custom web panels. So down here, there is a plus button and you can add panels, add a web panel. And what it means is adding a web panel to this sidebar. So you saw me have Google Keep. That is added as a web panel. So I hit this and I typed in a URL and now I've got that in a sidebar. In terms of using them, I added one for Notion and decided against it, so I got rid of that one. But that's my daily notes from Rome. So I can be working on something and just taking notes in this panel at the side. I can't tell you how fabulous it is. It's just amazing. Then, don't put that in there. That wasn't what I was doing. Then the ones that were most useful was when we were being marooned, I'd have the chat. And the chat would be under the player. And I would have it in that window. And in the main bit here, I would have things that I was looking at, or I would have Notion, I'd be making notes. But the chat was in that panel. At the moment, every Saturday night, we're going live with Brooklands 196. So I load Brooklands 196 into a panel, and underneath the player, when we're live, there will be the chat, and I will be able to see it in there. This one is WhatsApp. So I do exactly the same with that. So on a Saturday night, I'm flicking between the two. So WhatsApp doesn't look fantastic, and I've no idea who sent me what at the moment, so I won't click on it. It would look better in a bigger window, but it's perfectly usable. Once you get into it, it's perfectly usable. We've seen Google. I have Focus at Will, which I have to keep logging into. That does annoy me. It doesn't remember me, so I've got a problem with that. But in here, this I could sign in, and this is where it would play music. And it's focus music, music to work by. And what I do is once I've got it going, I then just close that. So that disappears and the music carries on playing. And then I can bring it back if I want to like mark it as finished or whatever. Another one I have is my calendar. So if I just want to see my calendar, nothing in there I don't think anybody can't see. Although I think there's less tomorrow. Oh, there you go, Asda tomorrow. It's just accessing my calendar. Simple as that. Then I have MacBites in Dropbox. So this is all the MacBites stuff, folder art, etc. I added that really just as I'm tracking stuff down. But in terms of using it, it's handy. It's handy, but I wouldn't say it's a necessity. But any site that would make sense to you to have open in addition to the main site, so it could be an Evernote window, it could be a Notion window, wherever you take notes, if there's a web version of it, then it might make sense for you to have it open in that side panel. And while you get on with your work, you don't even have to do the split screen option. You just open the side panel and you're away. That is what a side panel should be. Not that laughable farce of something they're trying to pass off as a side panel. It needs to have all of those features. The ability to add in any site you want. The ability to change the size of it. The ability to add to it, to delete from it. to even take away the built-in ones, to move it from side to side. What if you wanted it on the left? I want mine on the right, but you might want it on the left. It doesn't, the Chrome one doesn't do anything like that. It's laughable. And when you think they've got the best engineers in the world, or so they tell us, not good. Not good.
Patricia says, I realise how little I actually knew when I listened to Elaine Giles. I'm learning a lot. I fiddled with some settings and cache and got bumped off, but I think that might have fixed my dilemma.
Oh, well, I'm glad we're heading in the right direction with that. Right, so we have looked at bookmarks. There's a lot to look at, isn't there? And we have looked at the web panels, and the web panels are just fabulous. We will be revisiting web panels from time to time, for instance, like the history. But at this stage, it's just like, this is your option now to think, right, okay, so there's tabs. I can have them at the top, the bottom, the left or the right. Where do I want them? And go and do that. And then there's the web panels. You can have those on the left or the right. Where do you want them? Configure it. Set it up so it suits you. We will deep dive the status bar, and we've got history to look at, and oh, so much more. I could talk about Vivaldi for months. But you probably don't want me to talk about it much more tonight. So that's our Vivaldi piece for tonight. Right, I am still shipping 30 for 30. Today was day 21. How did that happen? I swear it was day 3, 5 minutes ago. That's happening on Twitter, and you can follow along. I'm also doing the 30 days to becoming a Vivaldi lover on my blog, should I ever actually get around to it, which I will. I'm thinking of allocating some time this weekend, and what that's going to be is a longer, deeper dive on the features that I've talked about on Twitter. So I've already got, I'm already thinking 30 days might not do it, which I think you said. Once I get going, there's no stopping because there's that many features. Good job I didn't decide to do 30 days to becoming a Google Chrome lover, isn't it? Because that'd be over before we started. But hey, it's there. So check it out. Right, freebies. I've got a really quirky freebie for you. It's quirky. You've been warned, but it's invaluable to me. Right, it's a website called FND.io. So think find without the I, because, you know, who needs vowels? FND.io. And as you can see, you can search for things and it'll bring it back. But what's it actually doing and where is it searching? Well, glad you asked. It's the App Store and iTunes. But whereas you can't search the App Store and iTunes without being on a device that supports it, with this you can. So let's have a look what that looks like. So we'll do that. We'll get rid of that and we will type in fnd.io and go find it. I have no idea what you're doing, sat across the top, but that's not good. So let's get rid of it. There we go. Now, why this is useful for me is this reason. Let's say I'm talking about, Camtasia. Oh, I've got updates. Only looked at those earlier. Oh, that's rather cool. I'll do those. But let's say in here I'm looking for Camtasia. There's Camtasia. Right. The version I have installed on here is the direct version from them. So I do have access to it. I have purchased it because I buy it twice. Long story. How much is it? No, we're not going to tell you that, say Apple, because you've already bought it. And if it's more expensive, you would be unseemly pleased with your little self. It wouldn't be good for you. 7 deadly sins and all of that. But if the price has gone down, you're going to be mithering us for a refund. So we're not going to tell you. So what I would have to do is click on the share with thing here and copy the link. And then I would need to get rid of that. And then I would need to go to a browser. And then I would need to do that and put in the address and then do this. Well, I don't know why you're doing that. I don't want to open the App Store because that isn't going to help me, is it? Right. And then finally, I get to see a price. It's a pain, a major pain. So all I have to do in here is to search Camtasia. Now, some of the stuff that comes up is sneaky. This shows you who's cheating in the App Store. So this photo editor has put into their meta the word Camtasia. Is it anything to do with Camtasia? No. But that's what they've done to cheat. As have all of these. This is a screen recorder. So, makes sense. Somewhere in here, there'll actually be Camtasia. So we've got Bugs. We've got Capto, which is a competitor to them. And there is Camtasia. And it gives me the price. straight away. No messing around. The price is there. So that saves me a ton of time. It's not just the App Store. This is everything. What you could say is, okay, so I'm looking for apps, and that will shrink it down and take the books out of it. So I thought that's interesting. Let's go to all and let's type in. Oh, how about we type MacBites in? And it also shows you podcasts as well, because you've got podcasts and Mac stuff and books and TV, movies, music and apps. And when you click that, you can actually play it if you want. Obviously, you're subscribed, aren't you? Tell me you're subscribed. But there you go. And it goes all the way back as well. Tell me it's got 144 in it. Oh, it has. Awesome. So, yeah, it's basically the feed. It's just taken the feed and put it there in a different format. But it's fabulous for finding stuff in the App Store where you want the price, where you've already bought it, or it's telling you, oh no, you can't search the iOS App Store on Mac. Well, you can on here. I just find that amazing. So fnd.io. Right, let's get back in there. And I do believe we're lambdaing. It's Super Lambanana time.
It is when I hit start record.
I can see your screen. I can see you sorting it. And I can see some funny symbols and it says Lambda.
It does.
So, shall we share that?
Yes, let's.
There we go. You shared.
Right, okay. What I was going to do is I was going to talk about some of the new features of Lambda, but I thought I'd leave it till next week. So I thought what I would do is go back in time to December last year and go over the basics of Lambda again, because when I first did it, it was very new, and now I've got a little bit more knowledge about it. I've played around with it for a bit more, so I'm going to go over the Lambda basics again. So Lambda for beginners. So Lambda was introduced into Excel in late 2020. It was initially available only to Microsoft 365 subscribers who were enrolled in the Insider Beta channel. And Microsoft do plan to roll it out to all 365 subscribers, but they haven't actually given any specific timeline for that. What is Lambda? It allows you to create your own worksheet functions. Now, Excel already has around 400 built-in functions, and we've covered many of these over the last few months, but things like sum and count and if and VLOOKUP and so on and so forth. Who would use Lambda? Who would need to use it? Is it for anybody? Well, in my opinion, it is for people who build their own spreadsheets containing complex formulas. In short, it can help simplify the creation of what would otherwise be a complex formula. Let me show you from this screenshot. I've got a list of transaction dates. You'll see in a minute that it is unicorn related. So I have a list of transaction dates and I want to know which quarter each of those transactions is in. So obviously January and February is in, and March is in quarter 1, April's in quarter 2. And there's a couple of options I've got to do that calculation.
There's a question there about, does it work on the Mac?
It does work on the Mac. Yes, it does.
Hang on, let me lie down for a bit.
It is totally Mac compatible. It also works on Excel on the web. I don't know if it works on Excel on the iPad because I haven't checked yet, but I'm suspecting it does. Could be wrong. So yes, there's a couple of ways that I could write that formula to work out the quarters. One way is this formula here, so QTR, and then join that to a number which is calculated from that formula there. But the other way to do it would be just to create a function and call it the quarter function. You can give these functions any name you like, but seeing as there's a built-in function called the month function, it would make sense to create a function and call it the quarter function, and then you're just referencing within that function one cell, which in this case is A5. So that there is an example of a custom function. And to build that function, I used Lambda. Now, actually, creating your own functions in Excel isn't new. You can do it with VBA. But for non-programmers, VBA has a steep learning curve, and some users have security concerns with VBA. And also, VBA isn't supported on Excel for iOS. It's also not supported on the web version of Excel either. So that's why a lot of people are turning to Lambda. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some examples of how to build your own functions with Lambda. All right, so let's go to demo 1 here. There we go. There are the unicorns. So here we have 2 lists. Each list contains sales transactions for 2 of the products that our fictitious company sells. This fictitious company, of course, is Unicorn Clothing. And each transaction displays the revenue generated and the cost of manufacturing the item. So, for example, we generated $100 of revenue from that sale on the 7th of January, and it cost us $36 to make the product. And the profit is being calculated using a simple formula, B minus C. Now, for somebody who is familiar with creating formulas in Excel, and I'm sure many of you fall into that category, and you understand the maths behind it, and this is as simple as it can get, B minus C, it's probably not worth the effort of creating a dedicated function. You might as well just go to that cell there, type in your formula B5 minus C5 and copy it down. But if you're building a spreadsheet for other people who aren't as Excel savvy as you are, in this instance, it still probably isn't worth building a custom function, because it's a simple subtraction calculation. Even people who are not Excel savvy, even people who are a little bit, should we say, scared of formulas, could probably manage a simple formula like that. But this isn't the real world. It's a demo aimed at helping you understand the basics of Lambda. And I want to keep it as simple as possible. So I'm deliberately using a simple formula, and that way we don't have to focus on the actual calculation, but we can focus on Lambda. So how would the function work? If you were going to build a function, how would it work? Well, a custom function requires a name, just like the built-in functions. So I would call this function profit. I can call it anything I like, but profit would make logical sense. And then it would require parameters. So that's the bit inside the brackets. Parameters, just like a normal function, can be cell references, they can be numbers, they can be dates, they can be text entries. And with a function created with Lambda, you can actually have up to 253 parameters. Now, our profit function would need 2 parameters, one to represent the revenue and one to represent the cost. And I just noticed Lola getting up there. She must have been very interested in Lambda.
Yeah, it was the lamb banana thing.
Yeah, she's gone back to sleep.
More lamb than barda.
Yeah. She's actually moved under the table. Maybe she's tried to
she's had enough, make it stop.
Protect her ears from...
He's talking about Excel again, make it stop.
Yeah. Anyway, two parameters this function needs. One to represent the revenue and one to represent the cost. So what I would do, I'm actually going to delete these formulas here. If I had built the function, what I would do is I would go to D5 and put equals profit, open brackets, B5, comma, C5 and close brackets. Now obviously if I press enter, I will get an error. And if you're wondering how Excel would know that B5 is the revenue and C5 is the profit, and to subtract C5 from B5, that is all programmed behind the scenes into the function. So let's actually have a look at how you build the Lambda function. I've talked about the theory and what happens behind the scenes, but how do we actually do it? Okay, so what I would do is, first step is to test it out. You can either create a test workbook or use a real workbook. In this demo, I'm going to use this workbook. So having deleted those formulas from column D and also from column I, I'm going to go back to D5 and put equals lambda open brackets. Okay, so start with equals lambda open brackets. Now, as I said, this function requires 2 parameters. And when creating the function, each parameter needs a name. The name can be anything you like, but I like to try and be logical with my names. And as the parameters are going to represent the revenue and the cost, it makes sense to call them revenue and cost. So that's what I'll do. I'll put revenue. Parameter names, by the way, are not case sensitive. So I'll just put revenue, comma, cost. Which is better than X and Y. Do you remember the discussion we had?
Oh, yes.
About dim X?
Don't dim X as an integer.
Exactly. So I'm giving my parameters meaningful and logical names. Once I've done revenue, cost, I then put another comma, and then I can continue putting parameters. But if I don't want to put any more parameters, which I don't, I need to put the calculation. And in this case, the calculation is going to be revenue minus cost. So I'll actually put revenue, spelt correctly, revenue minus cost. And that's it. So basically inside the brackets there are 3 elements. The first 2 elements are treated as parameters, but as I said, you can have up to 253 of those. And then the last element in the brackets is the actual formula, which in this case is revenue minus cost. So close brackets and enter. The reason that you get calc as the answer is because I haven't actually supplied any values to the function's parameters, so it doesn't know what revenue and cost are. So to solve that problem, I'm going to go up to the formula bar, and immediately after the formula I'm going to put an open bracket and then type B5, then comma, and then C5 and close brackets. So what that is telling Excel to do is to take the values in B5 and C5 and use those as the parameters. So revenue is going to be whatever's in B5, cost is going to be whatever's in C5, and then enter. So we get 64 because 100 minus 36 is 64. Now, this might all seem to be a little bit technical and a little bit over the top and a little bit making things complex, but we're not actually at the using stage of the Lambda. We're actually at the creation stage. So with the creation stage, you go to a cell, put equals Lambda, open brackets, put your parameters in, put your formula in, close your brackets, and then in brackets immediately after that in the formula bar you put all the cell references that are being used as the parameters, and it takes the values in those cell references and uses them in the formula. But as I said, this is still a testing phase, so if it does look a little bit strange, a little bit odd, a little bit complex, don't worry. What we do next is we have to name the function. Now you're thinking, but the function's name is lambda. No, the lambda function is what's used to create another function. See, I told you it can get a little bit complex. So you're using the lambda function that's built into Excel to build your own function. What we need to do is we need to copy everything except the last bit in the brackets. So I'll just do a Control-C on that. And then I go to the Name Manager by Formula Name Manager. Now I've already got a Lambda based function set up, but I want to create another one, so I click New. I call it Profit. Now it's actually picked that up because of the text directly above it, but as it happens, yes, I want to call my function Profit, but you can call it anything you like. And then in the refers to, that's where you paste in the text that you just copied. Question. Does the revenue minus cost need to be used as it's the title of the column? No, Kim, you can call it anything you like. So it's got nothing to do with the column headings. The only thing to do with the column headings is the fact that it picked the word profit as the name because it was directly above the cell my cursor was in at the time I went into the name manager. But no, I could have actually called those rev and co, or rev and cost, or even X and Y, or even Kim and Kimmy if I wanted to. Doesn't matter what you call them. So if I'd called them, let's say that I'd called them Manchester and United, then the bit here would have been Manchester minus United. You can call them anything you like, but obviously revenue and cost makes logical sense. And then when you actually look at the structure of the function, it makes even more sense there. It certainly makes more sense than X and Y and X minus Y, as we've discussed on many occasions. So I'll click OK there, and then close the name manager. So that is actually naming the function. And then to use the function, I'm going to delete that formula out of that cell, and I'm going to put equals profit. And you can actually see that when I type equals PRO, up pops a whole list of functions. The built-in ones are the ones with the FX. The ones that you've defined yourself have a little spreadsheet icon next to them. So I'm going to select the profit function, close the open the brackets. What it doesn't do, and this is a limitation which I'm sure will be on Microsoft's roadmap, is it doesn't put in the little IntelliSense tooltip. So you don't know that the first parameter is the revenue and the second parameter is the cost. So really you just have to know the order of the parameters. But this one is going to be B5, C5. Close the brackets and enter. And then copy it down. If I did do it the other way around, if I did do C5 and then B5, you're then going to get minus 64 because it's 36 minus 100. In other words, when we built the formula, we basically said it's going to be the first parameter minus the second parameter. So you've got to make sure you get your parameters the right way around when you're building it, and you've got to get your parameters the right way around when you're actually using it. Okay, so that is an example of the how to build a function using Lambda. Do you want me to carry on, or are you ready to take over?
I might need a little bit of a lie down.
Oh.
Morris is trending on Twitter.
Oh, right.
I'd hoped it... Well, no, I can't possibly say why I hoped it was, but it's not.
Oh.
Oh, dear. If you want to do another bit, carry on. Otherwise, I'm fine.
Okay, I'll let you take over.
Right, okay. Where was I up to? I was going to give you a task as well. I'm going to need 3 URLs. Shortly. I will put these in twice, so when I first mention it, you can do your magic beans. That'll work, won't it?
You mean into the chat?
Yeah.
Right.
But you'll need them first. Right, hang on. Let me sort this out. First of all, I need to cut from you back to me. So let's get that done. Okay, so we were in the midst of creating an icon kit in Affinity Designer. And we'd reached a point where we were talking about colours, and it seemed you were confused. So there are 3 different types of colour palettes in Affinity Designer, Affinity Publisher and Affinity Photo. If you are on the Mac, if you are on Windows, there are 2. So, document palettes go with the document. If I have a document and I'm sending it to Kim and I want her to edit it, use the right colours, I'm going to embed the colour palette inside the document and it will travel with it. Think of it like a little sidecar. If what I'm doing is making branding materials for a single company on the Mac I'm sat in front of, then I could make it an application palette. There's no hard and fast rule here. It's whatever makes sense to you. But that would mean if I made it a document palette, the problem with that is it lives in the document. So when I say file new, that palette's gone. It's in the other document. So I'd have to go to the other document and do incantations with it to get it into my new document. Whereas an application palette is available within the application no matter what document I'm using. The third option, if you're on a Mac, which is why the icon is an Apple logo, is Apple has the concept of system palettes. It's genius. So Pete asked the question, well, why wouldn't you just make everything a system palette? Well, that would solve your problem. It would be available in all the documents that you create inside all the applications on your Mac. Sounds grand, doesn't it? So little to manage. But it wouldn't be available if you sent that file to somebody else. Now, at the beginning, when you decide I'm going to make this a document palette, or I'm going to make this a system palette or an application palette, that doesn't mean that you can't change your mind later or do magic. And so I'm just going to take a little aside and show you how to switch a palette from being a system palette to a document palette or back again, whatever you want to do. But this is a long topic and I've covered it in, I would love to know why that icon has just reversed itself, but we'll carry on anyway. I've covered it in 3 sessions: working with a colour in Affinity Designer, working with colour in Affinity Photo, and working with colour in Affinity Publisher. There is a huge overlap between those 3 sessions, and they are at least an hour and a half each. But they've been really positively received, with people saying like, whoa, did not know that. So if you want more detail than I'm about to show you, that's where you need to head. And those are the links that Mike needs to go and find, which he's doing admirably. Excellent, Mike. So I will head out of here and we will go into here. So this is the file that we were using last week. And last week I created in here a palette for the Notion colours. And I made it as a system palette. So hence it's got the little Apple icon that you don't have if you're on Windows. But if I were to send this to somebody else to make like another set of icons, they wouldn't have a neat and organised palette that they could just click on and say, those are the Notion colours. They wouldn't have that. They would have access to the background of each of these and they could make their own, but that's going to take time, isn't it? So here's what I would do if I was about to share this with somebody on a different system. I do have the Notion palette there. So I've got all of the colours in it. Right, what I can do in here is export the palette. So it doesn't matter what type of palette it is, I can export it. So I've got this on the desktop. I've actually already done it once, but I'll do it again. So I'm just going to save it and overwrite it. So I've exported that. Now, surely I can't import it because I've already got a palette called Notion. But these at the top are the application palettes. These are the system palettes, and these are Pantone palettes. I don't have a document palette, so I should be able to import it. So import palette, and you get to say as what. So if I want to be able to send this file to somebody and say there's a document palette in it with all the colours you'll need, I just import it as a document palette. Go and choose which one and open it. So it now says Notion, but it said Notion before, but the icon's different. So if we look at what we've now got, we still have Notion as a system palette, but now we have it as a document palette. And that's important because document palettes are the ones that support global colours. These aren't global colours, but a document palette supports global colours. That bit there and that icon to the left of the name of it, if I choose this one, the system one, that button disappears because you can't add a global colour to a system palette, and the icon changes because this is now, while it's still the Notion palette and it's still got exactly the same content in it, it's not any longer the document palette. So you could have all three if you wanted. That's put the cat amongst the pigeons, hasn't it? But you can do that if that's what you want. So if you think, oh, I've gone wrong, you don't have to start again. Just export it and re-import it as something else. And if you then wanted to delete the system palette, you could if you wanted. I'll show you deleting that one because it's really simple to add it back in. So if I go and choose this one, with the one that I want to delete selected, I can just say delete palette. Are you sure you want to delete it? Yes. That does not delete the original. It's the one that is selected. But then if you think, oh, what am I doing? I did not need to do that. Then just go back and do an import. Import as a document palette. Go and choose the palette and bring it back in. Simple as that. Palettes are your friend. So when we got to the point where we had created our icons and features that we'd used up to that point were artboards. So each of these is a distinct separate artboard. That's going to be really important when we look at exporting it. I've seen people put things in here and they think they're discrete artboards, but they're not. They're not actually artboards. Right, so in here, each one's a separate artboard. We used some symbols. So when we look at one of these, we use some symbols, but we really got clever with symbols. We have a list item, which is an individual item in here, and we also had the checklist. So what we've really done is create nested symbols. Oh yeah, getting clever here. Nested symbols. The list item is nested inside the checklist. So if I wanted to change what one of these looks like, and I think what we said was the corner rounding, then I can do that in there. I'm changing one. Is that changing the checklist? Yes and no. Because the checklist is made up of 4 copies of the list item, it looks like it's changing it, but you are actually just changing the one and it's taking care of the rest. So we used nested symbols. We also created the colour palette, which I've just gone over with all that you can do with that, and we were pretty much at the point that we could export the thing. So that took us on to the export persona. Now there's more than one way of exporting this content in here. The reason that I did it across like that was in case we wanted to add some other icons underneath, and I would marry the colours up. So instead of taking half of these and putting them underneath, if I wanted other icons, I would put them underneath these and then the colours would match up. I haven't done that at the moment, but that was the plan. So you need to make sure that you've got everything right from the start of this project. So using artboards was a good start. If you remember, I said in here that the background of each of these, so that's got like a black background on it. If we open that up and scoot down, these are all the list items inside the checklist, and then there's the background, and the background was locked with a colour on it. And the reason that I added a background was you could do without the background. What I'll do here is let's just take that away. Now you might say, well, clearly I can't do without the background. Well, there's a different way to do the background. We have an artboard. So if we made the artboard a colour, then you don't need an object in the stack, do you? So why didn't I do that? Why did I take the time and create these extra elements that had to be locked and have a dedicated colour in? And my rationale was, I've been doing this long enough to know that if I try and skimp on the time, it won't end well. Because yes, I can add a colour to it, but it's easier to change an object colour than it is play around in here. The other reason is, let's go back and do the undos and get us back to, we've got black in there, but it's locked. It's far easier if I want to add a gradient to it instead, to add the gradient to a shape than it is the background, because I can work differently with the edges on this. It's far easier to do that if I want a gradient. Obviously, it would make much more sense if the gradient was a colour like that. So it's just far easier to play around with the gradient on an object than it is a background. It also gives you the option, if you just turn the background off, that you could export that with a transparency if you wanted. And it's just a matter of toggling it off. It's not a matter of going back in here and saying, oh, the background colour was actually on the artboard, so now I've got to take it off the artboard. So I just find that a whole lot easier and more flexible in terms of what you can do. So let's put that back to a black fill, and we're ready to sort the export out. So because we used... So what I'm focusing on now is the features that were good features to think about in terms of exporting. So the symbols make no difference at the point of exporting. The features that make the difference at the point of exporting are, one, the artboards. Rather than export this and then have to cut it up later. Do you know we had to do that on Illustrator? Until not that many years ago, that was the way forward. It was bad news. So one is the artboard, and two is the actual file names. And the reason that's important is, at the point that you create the file, it's so easy, just like dimming X as an integer, it's so easy to just say, yeah, part one, copy 2, and it makes no sense. It's totally nonsensical. But at some point, you're going to need to bring some sanity to this. And if you do the naming like I've done here, then you don't have to worry at the point of export, because each of these artboards has its own unique name. So we have black, red, blue, yellow, they're all named. But if we just flip over, so there is the export option. You could go to File and you could go to Export, and you would get this export. But what that would look like when you'd exported it, irrespective of what feature you use, look at the size of it. This is huge. It's not going to export in each individual icon as an icon. It's going to export the whole thing. So the export persona is your friend in terms of exporting discrete aspects of your artwork. So there they all are, all on separate artboards. They will export separately. And if we look over here, there's no errors at all. There's nothing screaming over here saying this won't work. So if we go back to here and we just duplicate one of these. So literally, we've got 2 copies that now say checklist black, and go back into the export persona. It's not screaming at us, but it should be screaming at us. It'll be screaming at us at some point because it can't do that. So something's going to override something else. See this one? That should be giving us an error icon, because that's why it's yellow. No, I can't do this. If I do that, I'm going to overwrite something. So it's good practice. That should definitely be showing as an icon. Why is it not showing as an icon? Always has before. I think this version is actually quite buggy, to be honest. But no, we're not seeing the icon. What I'll do in here is I'll just delete one of these, and that will solve the problem. So yeah, just want to delete the whole thing. Does that mean you have to do what we've done in here and name each of those individually? Well, yes and no. If there was a problem, so we'll duplicate that and we'll fix the problem. Maybe we could get it not doing that. I wonder if it's because it's sat on top of itself. So let's just get rid of it down there and see if it's complaining now. Not vehemently enough for my liking. Let's put it like that. But this is the one that is okay. It's not yellow. And this one here, not happy. Now, it's not happy when we go into it because it's using the slice name, which is the bit, the artboard, which is the blue handles on here. And then it's adding on a size, and they're the same size. So one's going to overwrite the other. So it's not going to be happy with that. A couple of things you could do. Right, you could, in here, change the slice name. So you could say that is 2. And then that is no longer yellow. That solves the problem. Good night, Renee. That's one way of doing it. But the problem of that is now, and this might not be a problem to you, but it is to me. In here, I have checklist black and I have checklist black too. But when I go back to my artwork, which is which? Because that does not write itself back to it for a very good reason. If we go into here, we are using the slices panel. We're dealing with slices. We're not dealing with artboards. They're slices. You might think, just a minute, isn't a slice an artboard? Most of the time, yes, but not always. If I wanted, for whatever reason, because I'm insane, to export half that icon, I could create another artboard on top of it, and another slice on top of it. So now I've got one with literally, it's got 2 bullet points in it. So slices are not the same as artboards. Not at all. And that's why in here you can name them and it doesn't ripple back through to in here, because in here it's layers. We're working with layers in the designer persona, but we're working with slices in the export persona. So what I don't like to do is name something in the slice, because when I go back to designer view, I've got no idea what's going on. Which is which? I don't know. So I personally wouldn't do that, but I will show you something now, which is a wholly different file. With a bit of luck, it's an open recent. Post assets 144, that'll do nicely. Right. So am I not drinking my own champagne here then? Because every one of these artboards is named the same thing. So won't that cause problems on the export? And the answer to that is no. And that's because in here I took a decision. Could I name these exactly what they are and put the sizes on and everything? Yes. And that would be one way of doing it. So why don't I? Because I have the need to name 9 artboards fast. So I type the first one in and then I copy. So I've just copied that and then I double click and paste, double click and paste, double click and paste. I don't want to be fiddling around with sizes at this stage. So is it possible to have multiple artboards name the same thing? Yes, absolutely. So how have I fixed the export? Because the export not screaming at us. Nor have I gone in here and renamed the slices, because now we know slices and artboards, not the same thing. Still not complaining though. So how did I do that? And in here, each one of these is named individually. I have put manually the word show art underscore, and I've put a size on the end that's been exported. And the only bit where the slice number is involved is the bit in the middle, and that it is pulling through from the artboard. So the unique elements of the name that are needed, I've done it at this stage. And then I've made a template. Otherwise, I'd lose the will to live. So there is a template that does all of that for me. So it is possible, but that's when I was quoting Mike with his, what do you do if don't dim X as an integer? No, don't dim X as an integer. Don't do that. And also in here, and we're looking at that one shortly, in here, either don't name all of these the same, or take the extra time and sort it out at the export persona end. How do you decide which to do? That's actually pretty simple. If it's a one-off like this, just name the layers correctly and then export them. But if it's something where, like mine, you might want to make changes in the future, or you want to do a copy and paste because this is something you do every week, then take the time and do it at the export persona end. Simple as that. So we don't need this one. That was explaining the problem. So let's get rid of that. Is that the one we want? I think it is. So do that and delete the object. So we've got everything in there. So the names aren't going to cause us a problem at the point of export. We just need to go and export them. It's simple, isn't it? So let's go into the export persona. Now we're dealing with slices, but the slices we've made, the slices have been automatically made for us when we created an artboard. So we've not needed to do it. All right. I named the wrong one there, didn't I? There we go. I think that's got a space on it. Let's get rid of the space as well. So technically we can just export then. Would that be right? well, we need to check first, what size is it going to export? And the size it's going to export is the default size. So if we just open up one of these, it will just say at 1 times. Oh, now I can't remember what size it was. Well, that's not an issue, because up here, when you look, it's telling you it's 2000 pixels square, which was what we set it to. But if you remember, taking these icons into either Scrivener or Notion, they don't need to be anything like that size. But if you want them for a podcast or something, then they do. So what do you do at this point? Are you going to want a PNG at 1 times? Maybe, maybe not. What to do then? And you don't need to make the decision at this point of all the different variants you may ever need. Because if you do that, you'll end up with multiple files and you'll have to re-export them all the time. At the moment, all I need is an icon that's 280 pixels square. So this first one that I'm in here, this is the grey one. I'm going to open that, and instead of 1 times, I'm going to put 280 W, 280 pixels wide. Okay. If I export just that, which I'll do, put it on the desktop. There it is. Right, once it's uploaded, because it's syncing with iCloud. There's a concept, syncing with iCloud. That is 280 pixels. But if I go to the next one and I do an export on there, this is just the purple one. That should take a fraction longer to upload because that's 2000 pixels square. So I was talking about how quickly I wanted to name my posters. Type it once, copy, paste, 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 paste. But in here, now the workload has been shifted into this part. Because in here, that one's 280, but to make that one 280, I'm going to have to type 280, and to make that one 280, I'm going to have to type 280. But the good news is you don't. You make sure that you've got selected the one that's the right size. The grey one is 280. You hit the button just above it to copy the export setup to the clipboard. And then you click on one or more of the others. So I'm going to say 1 and paste. And hang on, paste. Right, in there, that is now 280 wide. Even better, these, which are still 2000, one times, select the whole lot and apply that setting. And now every one of these is 280. So if I then wanted it, like that's great, and then the client comes in and says, yeah, can we have the 2000 ones as well? And bad words are said, but you don't need to. Go back to the top one, the grey one. Add another export. And this time it's going to be 1 times. But now we've got a problem. This has lit up yellow. Well, all I'm going to need to do on there is put at the end underscore 1 times. And OK. Or, because I know 1 times is actually 2000 square, it makes more sense to make it 2000 underscore width and height. And that way I know when I'm searching for a file, which I have actually just done. So I was looking for the posters for the working with colour in How to Spot. Let me get How to Spot on here. And how I did my search was working with colour and then part of the size, because every file of mine has got the size at the end, and it made it an absolute doddle to find it. So over here, that's what I would do with it. Now, I've actually typed that in, but you'll notice that the actual file name, well, this one's going to be grey, I'm using the slice name. And that means that gives me the flexibility to copy this new export definition and paste it on all of the others. And we shouldn't have any problem with anything going yellow. It's going to use the slice name, and the slice name makes it unique. But in my MacBites file, I flipped that because of the way that I design it, and I do it multiple times, and it's going to be turned into a template. So that there's several right ways. It's the right way for you based on what it is you're trying to do with it. And at that point, then you can just export the lot. So in here, I'm going to export the slices. I'm going to put them on the desktop, but I'll put them in a separate thing, and I'll call that icons. And they'll all just go in there. And it's as fast as that. So in here I have icons, and there are all the lovely icons. The ones that are 2000 have got the size on, so they're the big ones. The other ones haven't, they're just the little ones. If I wanted the name on it, I've got two options. I can either rename them at this stage or go back to Designer and do what I did with the other one and put the 280 on the end. Either way. I just personally like to have the sizes on, but that's just me. So that is the whole thing soup to nuts. So we've done creating the icons. We've done configuring the icons using the symbols, the nested symbols. We've played with colour palettes, and we've actually taken it to the point of export. So I said last week that's dealing with a certain number of icons, isn't it? But one file that we had, so there's a fair few icons, but there you go. But what if there's more icons? So there's only 9, 10 there. That was where we looked at weak numbers. So I had some icons and they were blue and they had numbers in and they were in Scrivener. And this is the file they were created from. So I have in here multiple artboards. I've got 53, which are for the weeks. You might wonder why 53. Some years do actually go into week 53. So I need 53 of them. But I also need icons for the months, so January through to December. I have icons for the quarters that are like a quarter of a circle. I've got a blank one for this one. So this one is journal days. It's just blank. I like that one. And scooting across here, I've got one for the quarters, the months, what I call my weekly action guides, the WAGs. And I'm going to produce these out. But looking at them, isn't this a bit of a problem? That the WAGs, months and quarters are all red at the top, and the day's journal is red at the top. Oh, and the months are red at the top. But hang on, weren't the days blue? So the same principles that applied to the one with 9 in apply to this one with over 60 in. Is that a question, I say? No. Patricia's liking this. So this is the one you want to buy, is it? It's okay. Right. The good news is with when it's done right, you don't have to worry about that. So if I wanted these out in red, then I could just choose to export those. So I would go to the export persona. They've been created in exactly the same way. And in here, instead of exporting the whole lot, I can work out which ones I actually do want exported. Because the good news in here is if I select the whole lot and then take the tick out of the box, then it takes the tick out of all the boxes. Right, what do I want exported? And if what I wanted exported is these ones here, the January through to December, I can actually select them in the export persona and it lights them up in the slices panel, which is awesome because it means I can just put a tick in one of them and boom, we're good to go. Now I can export just those 12. So I will put them on the desktop rather than in there, but we'll still get 12 exported. And there they are. Beautiful, beautiful. But we still have the other problem, don't we? Which is the large number, the 53. I need them blue. They should be blue. So let's go back to the design issue that we've got in here. Right. So they should be blue and they're not blue. But if I was on my assets panel, which I usually am, pro tip, if you get an Affinity Designer file, do an X-ray of it. And what I mean by that is, look at what your assets are outside of that. But if you remember, there is an option to embed assets within a file. So check if you've got any embedded assets. The next thing to check is your symbols. Oh, we have a calendar symbol. Who knew? So I'll concentrate on this one here. In this calendar symbol, I'm going to open it up. Oh, look what I have. Red's only one option. I could also make it green. I could make it dark green. I could make it blue. And I could make it grey. Right, not exactly thrilling, is it? I'm just toggling things on and off. But let's do that again with the entire file showing. They all change to green. They all change to dark green. Or they all change to blue. Or they all change to grey. And that's just one way of doing it. There's several ways of doing it. That's just one. The benefit of doing it this way is, as far as I'm concerned, it's extensible. What if I wanted that a different colour again? Well, that's fairly simple. Just duplicate that. So now it's still grey, right? But I want a different colour. So let's bring up my colour palette and let's find out a nice colour. So something around a lovely kingfishery colour, but darker. Like that. And now I've just added another one to all of them. But when I talk about designing the file correctly to start with, there's no point creating 60 odd artboards and doing it all by hand and then saying, do you know what, I'll make a symbol now. Create one and work it through in your mind and then duplicate it. Don't do the retrofitting it later. Future you will thank past you for not doing that. But it is that simple to change it. So what I wanted was the blue ones. So I can leave these green ones on or off. It makes no difference. I'm going to turn them all off. It turns them all off across the board. I then go to the export, and whereas I have got in here January through to December selected, I don't need the months this time. What I need this time is the numbers from 1 to 53. So I grab those and I put a tick in, and I know I've got 53 selected without going any further, because in the export slices it shows me a count. It's going to export 53 of them. So I'll hit on that, we'll export it to the desktop and watch it all fill up. There they are, all the lovely little icons. So if you build a file correctly, it's fantastic. It's like magic. As I say, there are other ways to do it, but that's just one of the options. The reason that I choose that way and not one of the other options, why have we just got the dictionary up? Come on, let's get that up. The reason I do it that way is, again, if I had that as some kind of global colour or something, that wouldn't enable me to make it a gradient, would it? Which I can easily do in here, because it's not a global colour or something like that. So in here, I have this one. Let's just duplicate it. And we'll turn that one off. So it's a nice blue, nothing wrong with it. But if we go and get the gradient tool, and we put a nice little gradient on it, don't like that blue, far too deep. But we'll go and change that. What kind of blue will we have? Much deeper blue, I think, like that. And of course you can configure this in any way you want. So you could have it that it was from the top to the bottom. You could rotate it round. You can even pull it outside. So if you want it really, really dark, virtually black, leave it there, but you can pull it outside if you want it a little bit lighter. And that way you can add a gradient to it, which if it was a global colour, that's not a gradient, is it? So that's one of the reasons that I do it that way. And of course that in itself has rippled through to the whole thing. It's magic. So do you still want to buy it, Patricia? I'll have to sort that out, won't I? But one thing looks like it's not wired up. Nobody's mentioned that, which is this one at the top. That one is red and it hasn't changed to anything else. And that's because I've just stuck a rectangle in it. It didn't have the calendar behind it. It's got the calendar here, but it's got that red thing over the top. But I can just toggle that off. So this was, in essence, there is a calendar at the back of it. So there's the calendar. It's literally just blank. For reasons best known to myself, I can't remember why. I've added a border to it, and then I've added some groups to it, so I've created this table effect. And I put red on the top, because obviously I wanted that one red. But it will now change with the others. So in here, if we go into there and say, no, we want that Kingfisher one, then it is Kingfisher. Awesome. Awesome. And that way you've got all the icons that you want. And once you've created this file, and I'm not going to lie to you, it took a while. And of course you're trialing and erroring as you're going in terms of, in the MacBites file. In the MacBites file originally I had all the numbers in it. And I thought, oh, I can't deal with this. It meant renaming the layers was a nightmare. And I thought, but you'll never rename the export. So I flipped it in one file. You need to know enough to know when technically that's the right way, but you know what? Practically it isn't going to work. So you automatically switch to something else. So it wouldn't be wrong to put a global colour in. But if you do, yeah, then you're not going to have a gradient. So it wouldn't be difficult to add the ability to do that the way that I've built it, but that's experience. So that's how you can have as many icons as you want and then kick them out. And that was how I did it to get those icons to put into Scrivener. Okay, oh, Carol wants them as well. Right, okay, I will get onto that. I will. So I will come out of all of that, and we better save that because I can't remember what I've done with it. And we probably need to hide that before I have an apoplectic shock. And I get accused of being more messy desktop than Mike. That would never do, would it?
No.
No, it wouldn't. No, definitely not. So I think Mike has put the links in for those sessions that I did on colour. Still don't know where that icon's inversed. But there was designer first, and then I did photo. Did those two on the same day. About 4 hours on air we were. And then that one in Affinity Publisher was only last year. Just as we went into lockdown, because, you know, lockdown, bored. So we did it last May. Right, let's get on to Scrivener, because if we're going to get this unboxing done as well, I'm going to have to get a wiggle on. Right, last time we looked at metadata, and we will be returning to metadata, because there's a lot of it, isn't there? But today I thought we would look at something that's quite visual, which is Scrivener views. So we have touched on Scrivener views, but if you think that a view in Scrivener is one panel there and one panel there, no, it can go a lot more than that. It can do a lot more than that. So we will have a look at Scrivener views today. So I do have Scrivener showing. Heaven knows what I've got here. Oh, look at this. I've got
Patricia says, is the calendar the only symbol?
In that one, yes, it is.
Are the numbers a text field?
The numbers are just text. They're not even a text field, they're just text. Right, so in here, I've got my blank one. Was this the one we used, the blank one? Oh, it was. This was what we were up to. So you can see in here already, one thing to look at with this is I've changed the resolution of my screen. And in here, we've got loads of stuff in here. But in here, that should fit the screen, and if you look at it carefully, it's actually scooting off the end by a considerable amount. There's some Windows management going on in Scrivener which you won't encounter unless you do change the resolution of your screen, and then it's not good. But what is weird with it is if I look at MacBites isn't right, that's not right. No, none of them are actually right, but if I do my make it fit, basically, and I do it once and then I do it twice, then it fits. It's bizarre. But whereas you would think, right, well, you've done it now on the window, the Scrivener window. No, it treats them individually. It's ludicrous. That one's still missing. So I still have to hit a shortcut key for Moom or go to this button here and choose that to make it fit on each individual file. It's utterly ludicrous. Ludicrous it is. I don't know why it does it, but I would have to go up there and I would have to choose that. Not once, twice. So that's just a Scrivener thing. That is this one wanting 3. You're not doing it at all, are you? Naughty, naughty. Oh, there we go. No, nearly. Is he doing it in episodes? Because I'm not actually touching that, and I think it is. There we go. That was about 4, wasn't it? It's ridiculous. So that bit's not good. But what I'm talking about in here in terms of views, you can see with these individual different files, I've got different views. So in this view, this is a fairly basic view. I've flicked this to outline view. Normally, it would probably be in that view, or maybe the corkboard view, but I've just happened to have it into outline view. But I have the binder showing, and I have the middle bit, which is either a single scrivening, multiple scrivenings, a corkboard, or an outline, all controlled by these buttons at the top. And I have the info over here. So when I say views in Scrivener, you can actually choose to turn some of these off. So if you're working on something and you want to focus, you can hide the binder and you can hide the info. Sometimes I hide the info, not often, because I'm pretty much working with it. And I can't remember the last time that I hid the binder. But you can do if you want. The other big thing that will probably hit you straight away is that you have the option here to split the screen. And that doesn't look grand because it needs to be wider. And it's a very tiny screen tonight as well. Don't forget that. Normally I have a whole lot more. that I can go at. So if this one over here was my scrivening content, then this over here is my outline. And that is a view I use a lot. So my email generator basically lives in that view. So if we take that down and make it just enough so it makes some kind of sense. I do kind of live in that view, and I would probably make that a bit smaller and split that in the middle. And that's because I have the mail that I'm working on over here, and these over here, this is the mails I'm sending out this week. So actually, all of these have been sent. That one's not been sent yet. So the label would be sent on all of them, so it's green. And the status would be sent on all of them because they've all been sent. So that's why I have this outline view. I wouldn't use corkboard view. I would use individual views where I'm looking at a specific mail. There is a slight difference, obviously, between what the mail looks like in here and what it looks like when you see it, because there's a lot of magic going on to make that worth it. Okay, so that's what we mean by views. But it doesn't stop there. There's other aspects to the views. So if, for instance, let me have a look. How did I get that open from there? Right, so I've double-clicked it. I've double-clicked the icon from this view, and I've got another window. It's got the same stuff in it, but this is important. Because what it's got in it is the toolbar across the top, which mirrors the toolbar you've got there. But having it in this window means that this is a self-contained window. It has the title of the scrivening at the top, and then it has the content, and all of that is the content. But in addition to that, it has down here the ability to to show or hide the project bookmarks. It shows you a word count, and you've got access to your labels and your status all within this floating window. You might say, well, that's fine, that's great, but it's sitting over the top of Scrivener, so what use is it? Well, I've got 3 monitors, so what if I just take that over there? Now it's like having Scrivener on 2 screens. And if I went to a different mail, so what have we got here? That one does have visuals in it. So if we open that up, we can see that's got visuals in it as well. We can put that on the other screen. So now I've got a triple screen view of Scrivener. Oh, wow. So I can see multiple parts of my book or whatever it is I'm working on. In addition to all of that, you have this thing here. It says editor only. And indeed, you're looking at just the editor. But you can also, in here, choose to see the synopsis at the bottom. You could choose to see a picture if there was a picture representing it, or the notes, or any keywords that we applied, and they would all be shown in here, in addition to it. So it's not obvious that you can open this extra thing and see it, but you can. So all of that appears at the bottom. So in here I might want to see the comments or something. That would make sense maybe to have at the bottom. But now this has sprung to life. Toggle a split view. Oh my word. And that's taken it to the side. So that makes actually more sense if I'm looking at comments and footnotes. It's split the view, but instead of having it where I've only got a certain height on my monitor, I've got much more width. In essence, I could now put that one over there. I could bring this one in and do the same with that. So I want to see this with the notes, and I want it to split that way and put that over on the other screen. So if we just get these all on top of one another here, I'm now looking at the binder, the info. I'm looking at 2 different things in my main editor, and I'm looking at 2 extra things in 2 extra windows. I've got eyes on 6 elements of my book, be they pages, paragraphs, chapters, whatever you want to see, an outline, a corkboard view, whatever it is you want to see, you've got access to it 6 times over, in addition to the binder and in addition to the info panel, which is just stunning. Oh, I love that. I love that. Now, I'm going to forget these things that are flying around now, and let's just go back to something like this. When I'm working on the show, I have 2 dedicated views. Now, they won't make much sense, so I'll demonstrate it in this one instead. But I have two distinct views. So when I'm working with this, sometimes it's handy to have this particular view. What we're looking at now is probably going to be my default view. I might over here, I would lock that. So that is Command Option and L, and that would lock it. And then over here, I would probably choose to have an individual scrivening showing like that. So that would be my default view. But there'll be times when I want to check other things. So with MacBites, I have, and I'm editing the show notes view, and then I have I'm creating the show notes, and then I have another one, which is now I'm going through and I'm checking it, and I don't want to be bombarded with numbers and all kinds of stuff. It's a simple view, but this is probably going to be my default view. So you have up here a view manager, and you have the ability in there to create custom views. So you can see I have a MacBites view for when I'm working with the show notes. And then I have this update show notes view, which is a simplified view. Won't make any sense on this file. You also have 7 options up here, and these are optional. You don't need to see these if you don't want them. But it shows you the default view. You then have a 3-pane view in outline, and it actually switches the view. That's totally different. That looks like Ulysses. You have 3 panes with a corkboard, and it's offering you tips as to how to work with this if you want to. So this is your scrivening. This is your notes. You also then have an editor only view. So that's like your focus view. And all of these are accessed from here. You can have a corkboard only view. You've got a centered outline, where the outline is actually narrow within a window. And your last one is your dual navigation, which is that. So what this is doing, that's actually giving you 3 panels and they're embedded. Okay. So, and you've still got more than that if you want, but this is a navigation view. So as you click on these, what appears underneath depends on what is on the top here. You don't need to see those if you don't want them, because you didn't create them. So they are what Scrivener thinks might be handy for you. But that might not be what's handy for you at all. So if I just flick back to the default, that's not how I have it. So I would set it up. So that was my outline, and I would go to the top and I would lock it onto that bit. I would probably get rid of some of these. Don't need to see that. Don't need to see that. So just looking for progress, etc. And that would probably do me. If I wanted to make it that this panel controlled what I saw in here, I could do that. And what I mean by that is what you see on the left hand side depends on what you have selected over here, doesn't it? But you might be looking at this and thinking, oh, I need to work on that. So you click on it and nothing happens. You could double click on it and that would then take you to it, but we wanted to lock that onto the outline. That wasn't what we wanted to do. But this little button at the bottom, which looks like a send to thing, it says automatically open the selection in the other editor. So let's click that. And then let's click here. And now this editor, this panel, is acting as a navigation tool for this one on the left hand side. So that's pretty much perfect as far as I'm concerned. That's a view I would return to. So what I can do is, instead of clicking the drop down arrow next to this, I can actually click the button itself, and that opens up the layout manager. You'll notice there's only 2 layouts in it, but just a minute, there was a whole range of them in there. And that's because they are added from the preferences. They are not added in here. We have somewhere in here. Oh gosh, there's so much in here. I wish there was a search option. Would it be appearance? Who knows? Layouts. They are somewhere in here, and I wish I knew precisely where they were, but you can actually turn them off. So do we have layouts? If you shout if you see layouts. It's not options, I know that. Or is it? No, it's not. Composition. I need to find it, don't I, and share it with you. Layouts. layouts. Oh, it's in here somewhere. Right, well, never mind about that. It's there. You can turn them off. That's why there's only 2 in here. I wonder if it's in here. There you go. Hide the built-in layouts. That's a really stupid place to put it. So now if I go up here, I've only got my 2. But if you do want to see the defaults, then you can show the built-in layouts there. But what we're going to do is create 2 of our own. Okay? So all I need to do is create the layout, which is exactly what I've got here. What you're looking at is a thumbnail of that layout. And if I click on that one, you get a thumbnail of that layout. So you can see they're very different. This one is wide. And that's because that's me on my 27-inch iMac. And this update the show notes, that's on a 12-inch, an 11-inch MacBook Air from 2012. So it needs to be much narrower. The notes are narrower. You can see that the binder, but there's only one panel in the middle because it's much narrower. And that actually does work and do that. So I need to create one here. So I'm going to create one for this. And this is going to be my demo layout. So demo layout. I then get the option, it takes a screenshot and I can say, do you want to save the outliner and corkboard settings? Now what it's talking about is what they actually look like. So the outliner that you've got here, do you want to save it as is? And it's probably a good idea to do that. And then the other option is the metadata appearance, which I'm going to leave alone. But if you wanted to save the metadata appearance, what it's talking about is, do you want to have these colours over here and these colours here if you use this view on another file? Now, it might be that you do, in which case put a tick in the box. And then you can say use it. Now, nothing exciting so far, to be honest. And that's because we haven't got another view for this at the moment. So let's make another view for it. So the other view I'm probably going to want to use is I'm not going to want the outline. I just want to focus in on this. I might want to add something else or take something away, but I'll just make it really simple and do that and say this is now my focused view. So my other one is my management view and this is my focus view. So what you would then do, in fact, if you wanted to make it even more focused, you could hide that, couldn't you? So you're just concentrating on the actual information itself. And if I open this up on a really tiny screen, so if we said, on another screen, it's going to look like that, that's fine. That looks great. So not a problem with that. So let's bring back our layout manager. And this time we need to create a new one. And this one is demo 2, a layout. And this is now where the magic comes in, because that's not very exciting either, is it? But this is where we can go up here and say, let's flick back to view 1. I do need to make sure up there I am on that. That should actually work. I locked it on the wrong bit. I should have locked it on week 34, so it's got the whole thing in it. And then over there, click on that. So I might need actually to go back into my management in here and update this. So this was our one, wasn't it? So if I actually got rid of that and I added this one, fingers crossed, demo. And this will be demo 1. It'll be easier. Right, so that should work, fingers crossed. So all we need to do in here is go to our second demo layout. So far, so good. Fingers crossed for demo 1. It's not locking on that bit there. So I would have to have a look at why that's not happening. Because I've actually locked it, I can't even click on it. But if I left it unlocked, I could do that. But what I'm getting is the width of all the panels, which panels I've got displayed, where they're displayed, how they interact with the other panels, because this option down here is still on. If I click one of these, it's updating the panel on the left. The width and what's displayed over here. And then when I need to go into edit mode, I can quickly go back to it and say, right, now I'm in edit mode. And off I go by clicking something that's got some content to edit. So that was what I meant by views. 2 things. One, the actual views that you can create with Scrivener, which are much more extensive than they used to be because you've got these fly-out panels now. But also saving them and making your life easier down the line. So the MacBites one and the MacBites update show notes I use all the time. And we have that configured as well for the laptop, because that's really what it's for. So this is because you can't share a Scrivener file. So what I did with it was I just handed Mike the laptop and said, get on with it. You take the laptop. It's on my Dropbox account, but Mike takes the laptop and sorts it out. So that is views. I'm seeing chat in here that Carol has done something wonderful, but I don't know where. Oh, you finished your book. That's fantastic. That is fantastic. Wonderful. Do we know what it's about? Have you told me? I'm not seeing it. Oh, put all the information in. Get it in there. Right, okay, let's get rid of that and let's go into the last thing, which is we have an unboxing. Well, technically we have an unboxing. We do have an unboxing, if I can get the camera working. And it's not playing ball at the moment, is it, Mike?
No.
No, I don't like that. Don't like it when it's not playing ball. So, what can we do about that? We need a plan B. We need a swift plan B. Or this needs a swift kick up its interface, which I think wouldn't be a bad thing to have anyway. Right. Ah! She's fixed it. It's nothing short of a miracle. Right, so I'm going to move my iPad well out of the way. And, oh dear, it's rocking. It's on a cable. Don't do that. Right, I think we've probably got enough room there. So I need to turn a light on. You've got the box, haven't you?
I gave you the box. Well, the box is down there.
So I've got a second light on. I need to push a button. I need to push a button. So let me switch this over and see if it's all working tickety-boo. If it's not tickety-boo, that's not good. Right. Let's do that and push the button. Push the button. There we go. How is that looking? That needs to come in a bit, doesn't it? Is that looking grand?
That's looking good.
Awesome. Toy. Right, as long as everybody can see and as long as it's all videoing, etc. That should be good. Right, let's get in here. I'm hoping this is what I think it is. But it's one of those things that's been lying around for a couple of weeks. All will be revealed as to why it's been lying around for a couple of weeks. But fingers crossed. Oh, good. It is exactly what I'm thinking it is. Which is always good news, isn't it? Because, you know, if it was a packet of Lola's dog treats, you wouldn't be thrilled and Lola would be distraught that you were seeing her treats before she was. Right, let's get in. Let's make lots of mess.
Loda's asleep. I can see a tail.
Oh, I have headphones. I do. And detritus. Right, here we go, Mike. Cardboard bin detritus. Oh, I have headphones. Now, you know I love my Taytronics headphones, but sadly, my Taytronics headphones, while they are still working absolutely perfectly, need new ear pads. And ear pads isn't a thing, apparently. So I thought, right, time to look for some alternatives. I am not in the market at all. It'd be nice if I was, but I'm not. I am not in the market at all for AirPods Max. Yeah, I only want to spend the price of the AirPods Max pads on a pair of headphones. So I went for a brand that I have used before, but not this one. It's OneOdio, they're called. Michael put the link in. OneOdio. These, feature-wise, are feature parity with the Taytronics. The OneOdio that I have had before were wired headphones. They were editing headphones. But I wanted to have the ability to walk round with Bluetooth headphones on, preferably have the battery last a decent amount of time. But I'd also like the ability to be able to plug them in, because I do not do Bluetooth audio with my iMac. And the reason that I don't do Bluetooth audio with my iMac is that my iMac is doing far too much in the audio department to be dragged into the Bluetooth thing. If I attach Bluetooth audio to my iMac, I won't be able to record locally. The audio that I want to record locally. So I never do that. It's cabled to my iMac. I don't like headphones that have got a built-in cable, because if the cable breaks, then you're knackered. And I don't want to pay a fortune either. So these at the moment, I do believe, are £53. But I happen to know, this is the second pair that I have bought. Mike does not know that yet. He does now. Oh dear. So I know they're fabulous. But what happened was I bought one and they were fabulous and I thought they're great. And then they came on offer So I thought, well, I might as well have a second pair because, you know, the way the Tatronics lasted. But this is the thing, I can do that because I'm not paying the price. They are fabulous. The sound is amazing. So, and so is all the stuff that you get with it, to be honest. So this is going to be my secondary pair. Now I can have one in each room. Right, so they ship in a little bag, which is rather snazzy. I'm liking the rather snazzy little bag. There we go. It actually says OneOdio on it there. You also get in here all the detritus. So the detritus includes the user manual. So they are OneOdio A30s. And in the little bag, you get a few things. So in here, you have a standard cable. I do not use a standard cable. That cable, never going to be used. I had a cable that was a red cable and it broke. And I had a red cable for a reason. It trails across the floor. And once I had to go back to a black one because the red one broke, how many times did I fall over it?
Loads.
So I actually buy separate cables. And so there's what my spare cable looks like. I'd rather it was plastic, but sadly it's not. It's fabric. But obviously it's very, very similar to this. But this is quite floppy, whereas this just settles where you want to be and it's fine. And that was like about £2. So you do get that. You also get a charging cable and it charges with USB-C. So there is a little USB-C charging cable. And then there's this thing where you can plug one thing in and then plug it into two things. Never used that in my life. You ever use that one? No. They always come with it. And I'm like, oh, another one of those. And throw it in a drawer. Should the need ever arise, I've probably got about 19 of these. So it's always good to know, isn't it? So those are the bits and bobs that come with it. So let's pop those in there. And let's unveil it. There we go. So they fold up neatly. I think this is the DJ fold, isn't it? Where they fold over one another like that. And you pull that one down, and that one down, and then you have one standard pair of headphones. That looks like it's been in the box a while and is going to need to get rid of that dint. We have a dint in it. But there they are. So they do expand. You do have to pull on that to get it to expand. There we go. There's the expansion. I don't need that, so it stays like that. It says OneOdio on the top. And that is handy that it's that way round. So how I know that I can pick them up and put them on is the controls are on the left-hand side, which is this one. And you can see in there, it does say left and right, you know, just in case you're unsure. Can you see that? I think you can just about see the right one. So it does say left and right. It was a bugbear of mine for days as I tried to put this on. And I'm like, oh, I've got them back to front again. But when you're picking them up, if you can read that rather than that being upside down, then they're right. On the left-hand side, you have the access point for the cable. So my cable, my bright red cable, so I don't trip up on it, goes in there. And when you plug that in, it automatically turns off any Bluetooth. Right. So next to that, you've got the three buttons for volume, next track and previous track, and the middle one turns it on and off. So that option is in there. On the other side, you've got the charging port and this little switch, which turns on the noise cancellation. So that was the other thing. There needed to be noise cancelling. I wanted a lot. I wanted a DJ cable, I wanted Bluetooth, I wanted noise cancelling. I wasn't actually fussed how it charged, but it's nice that it's USB-C. It makes it a little bit easier than a standard Kindle charger or a USB charger because it doesn't matter which way round it goes. One of those things. I never get the cable in the right way the first time. So there they are. They are very comfortable. I love them, which was why I got a second pair. Because I can never have too many headphones. They last ages. If I turn on the other pair, so the other pair live next to me. So this is the pair I'm actually using at the moment. That lives next to me. If I turn that on, it takes 3 seconds to turn on. But once it's turned on, you can see there is a flashing blue light on it. I hope you can see the flashing blue light. That's there. Flashing blue light. Somewhere. Got my phone. Where's my phone? There's my phone behind the iPad. Don't put that back on the wrong stand. Right, so if I bring this up and we have a look at the battery life. Oh, it's at 100 again. There we go. I've listened to that for... No, don't be doing that. Whatever that is, don't do it. Right, there. I've been listening to that for probably about a week and it's still at 100%. The battery life is stunning on the thing. And the sound quality is amazing as well. I don't think I can effectively demonstrate how amazing the sound quality is. The interesting thing as far as I was concerned was how these things were stitched. And they have a stitch here. My others didn't. They had a piece of fabric pulled all the way around and that was what broke. The stitching came away in here and all of the fabric came off. So I'm hoping with the stitching there that I'll have more success with that. But I thought for the money, given what they can do, I'm quite happy with that. I like my headphones, I do. I pretty much work... Well, I work nights, don't I? So I'm headphones on all night. Then I've got headphones on when I'm training. So pretty much my headphones are on all the time. And having one pair instead of swapping from Bluetooth to cabled is very useful. And having the cable separate from the headphones means that if the cable breaks, which my first red one did, I can just buy another cable and carry on. So there we go. My OneOdio headphones. I'm glad that I tried them. Gosh, this must be about 5 years ago. The cabled pair that were for editing, because it meant when I saw these, there was like 6 or 7 different pairs. And it's like, oh, I don't know which one's going to be the best. But I knew that the OneOdios that I'd had been very good. So that was why I took a chance with it. And then got a second pair, which I could unbox for you guys. So what headphones do you use? Let me know. Let me know. So let's, where's that gone? Oh gosh, come on. Let's get that back on. Hey! Right, so let me move to that. Where is it? Oh, there we go. iMac. There we go. So, these are what we're talking about. Presume you put the link in.
Yeah.
5 minutes charge for 2 hours. I can say that's happened when I have actually taken it down to nothing. You do get quite a lot of charge just by plugging it in for 5 minutes. The active noise cancellation is fantastic. I have listened to stuff I want to listen to, mainly audiobooks, I'll grant you, with my industrial fan behind me. And I thought there's a bit of a rumble. And when you turn that active noise cancelling on, I will say if it's music you're listening to, obviously the sound's going to be thinner because what it's taking out with the noise cancelling is the bass of noise. So like the electrical hum of something. But it works. It's like the fan is not on. Obviously you get the coolness of the fan without the noise of the fan. So yeah, it does really work. I think I showed you all that bit. Folding up, etc. Oh, there is a microphone on it and I never use that. You know, like when a call comes through, I just look at it thinking somebody's ringing me. Who are you? But there is a microphone on it as well if you want to. And there's a picky of everything that's in it. Still wish I knew what that doubling thing was for. I reckon Simon would know, but I haven't got a clue. So there you go. Right, coming up, we are back with you same time, same place next week. But it's not our holiday, so we might be grumpy. There you go. We won't be grumpy. We're never grumpy, are we? We're never grumpy. Right, everything's available on demand, so you can go to youtube.com/Elaine Giles, and there is a dedicated playlist for MacBites After Hours, which is at macbites.co.uk/After Hours playlist. We have a date, of course, Tuesday. The new MacBites will premiere on Tuesday night at 8 o'clock on MacBites FM. It's become a thing. Young Jonathan's probably in therapy for this, isn't he? The shock may prove to be far too much for the poor boy. Right, we love you guys. If you love us, could you give us a like? Because it really does make a difference with YouTube. YouTube then recommend us to other people and we get more people in the MacBites family. It's good. It's good all round.
The link to the headphones is in the chat, Kim, but I'll paste it in again.
Okay, it's on the way, Hopefully it's available in America, fingers crossed. Right, there is the VIP mailing list where you will find all first dibs on anything that I'm doing. Oh, including those 2 sessions we've got to sort out for the autumn. So don't miss it. ElaineGiles.com/VIP. And the MacBites mail is at macbites.co.uk/MacBites-mail. And that is all things MacBites, including new shows on a Tuesday. I know, we're shocked as well. Then there is Slack, where we carry on the conversation. And you can join us totally free of charge at macbites.co.uk/Slack. And there was a few messages this week, wasn't there, during the live show?
Yeah.
The live premiere of MacBites. I think there was like 170. There was a lot of chat. It was grand. So do join us. And of course, you can contact us at any of those methods. We would love to hear from you. Suggestions for the shows, or just what you're up to. We would love to hear from you. We would. Right, let me get the chat so I can see the chat again, because I've now moved everything and I can't tell which of these headphones is which. No, the ones I've turned on are the ones that I'm using, so let's turn them off again.
Why isn't the link showing in the chat?
Oh, have they banned you again?
Well, it's not saying that.
Oh, Mike, what have you done this time?
Can you see it?
Just a sec. Let me get this over there so I can dispose of that and then tell you if I can see it or not. Right, come to Mummy Vivaldi. Over you come. Right, live streaming. Right,
I pasted it 3 times.
No, I'm not seeing it. Shall I try and paste it?
You try it.
Oh, it's taking one on itself with Mike.
And Renee's back. FOMO.
FOMO. Oh, Renee, it's not the same without you. Right, hang on. Headphones, wasn't it? That was in the unboxing. Right, headphone. Let's see if there's a problem.
Shall I put it in Slack?
Oh, bad words are nearly being said here. Right, there we go. So I'm pasting it in. It's in there. Can anybody see that?
No.
No?
No.
It's after Debbie and before Renee.
No.
Oh,
now it's appeared.
Ta-da!
It obviously doesn't like me.
Yeah, it really does take against you, doesn't it, Mike?
Well,
don't take it personally.
You're the channel owner, so you've got special permission.
Yeah, I've got special permission to do whatever I like. Oh, Mike would be concerned if I did have special permission to do whatever I like. Trust me. Oh, so no, he didn't like you at all. Oh, it's just been finickety. Patricia says, I wondered why I could do headphones on my Mac Mini. $100 Skull Candy pair. I've heard of Skull Candy. Can't figure out why they no longer work on the Mac Mini. Is it Bluetooth? Bluetooth's a bag of hurt, generally, with Apple, and particularly with audio. So I was concerned about the AirPods, the AirPod 2 we had, didn't we? It said it automatically picks stuff up, and I thought if it does that on my Mac, they're going straight back. But I told it not to on my Mac. Leave it alone. Leave it alone, walk away, don't do a thing. And it did. So they're fairly well behaved, but $75. That's probably about right, isn't it? We've got, what's the dollar rate at the moment? About 160?
138.
138. I've seen it worse. So it's probably about right. Oh, I bought 2 things this week, you know. And you know what? Wow, I was delirious. Because the rules are, if you're selling into Europe, although we're not Europe anymore, but we still have to pay VAT, you have to charge VAT on it, which puts 20% on it. So I'd got this coupon to get off 20%. That's handy, isn't it? So I thought, well, that saves paying the VAT. Only when I elected to pay via PayPal, they didn't charge me the VAT in the first place. That happened twice this week. Ah, loving that. Apparently, a lot of people just don't bother. You should, even if you're in the US, if you're selling something to somebody who lives in the EU, and possibly the UK, I have no idea. I don't know what the Brexit rules are. No more than Boris Johnson does. You're supposed to charge VAT, and you're supposed to then send it to the Customs and Excise. But not everybody does. And, you know, you can't pay the VAT on it if they don't charge you the VAT on it, because it's them that needs to send the money to the government. And they didn't do it. Yeah. So I was quite happy this week. That was good news. Oh, the little plug is an airplane plug. Ah, this would explain it, Renee. Not been on an airplane since 1984. Wilbur Wright was flying it. It's a long time ago. That's not even joking. That is totally true, that. So I will now know that, and I will put them all together. And should I ever be ridiculous enough, you know, lock me up if this happens. If I ever decide we're going to fly, I'll take it with me. So thank you for letting me know what that is. I've not got a clue. So I presume you have to plug that in, and then you plug your headphones into that. Well, I'm just wondering, why don't they just have a standard Google Circle? Why don't they just have a standard Google slot? If you'd not heard MacBites, naughty, naughty. You're delinquent. We discussed the Google Circle. Yeah, MacBites Siri was thrilled, wasn't he? Do you know what I've just found while I'm fiddling away, putting these away? I found our placemat. I've got to share this. It's just too cute. Where's my camera gone? There it is. There it is. Right. This is a placemat that got sent to us from Dogs Trust. And it says, I think you're magnificent. So it's to put your mug on. And it's from Paolo. And Paolo's the dog we sponsor. Look at his face. Used to be Sammy, but sadly Sammy died. We love Sammy. We love Sammy because he was called Sammy. He was born on Christmas Day. And he didn't like people. Just my kind of dog, really. But how old was he? Was he about 18?
Something like that.
I have no idea how he lived so long, but he did. And Paolo's the replacement. That's Paolo. Isn't he cute? Lola would probably like to play with him. Where does he live? Which
Don't know.
They usually tell you which branch they're in. But that's I love my sponsor dog. Oh, isn't he just too cute? Loving him. So he lives in... I don't put a mug on him, obviously. He lives in the top drawer next to me with all my other stuff. Right, okay then. So do we have any last questions here before I decide that I am definitely going to sort that cake out for tomorrow? That cake has been there tempting me all week. And obviously when you go back to work, you've got to be good with your healthy food, haven't you? And not have half a dozen cakes lying around. So we got kind of quite liking the cake after Mike's birthday. But it's a long time to wait now till mine. It plugs into the double mono sockets in airplane seats. So they've been in there that long. Is that Brooke? No, that's not Brooke, Renee. Have you not seen Brooke? Brooke is a golden Labrador. So no, he's Paolo. And they can't... What happens is Dogs Trust never put a healthy dog down. So they have to find homes for them. And some of the dogs, they can't be rehomed. That was why Sammy had been he was in Edinburgh, wasn't he? They live at the Dogs Trust Centre. And people can come and visit them if the dog is not unhomeable or not rehomable for a reason, like a medical reason or something. But with Sammy, he didn't like people. So you unfortunately couldn't go and visit Sammy. Paolo, I'm not sure. We'll have to find out where he lives. But I love.
Can anyone see the link I've just put in?
Let me have a look. No, Mike, you don't exist. Oh, that's not funny. I know how I can do that, Mike. I know how I can do it. I'll log into your machine. Why does it never like you? Right, where's the link? Is it on you? Is it that one?
Yeah.
Right, give me that link. No, it's not copying it. Can you just copy that link? Don't huff and puff. You're huffing and puffing.
I'm not. You've got hold of me mouse. Right, there we go. It's copied.
It's not copying it to my clipboard.
No.
Oh, for crying out loud.
Maybe
Send me a text message. God almighty. Why did the tech acting up? The tech is acting up. I'm not happy. Right, Mike's now sending me an iMessage so I can get the link and share it with you. Oh, what a night. Oh, right, come on. iMessage, here we come. Toddly. There we go. Has it arrived? Right, meet Brooke the dog. Right, I now have the link for Brooke the dog. So there we go. There is a link with Brooke the dog. And that is told me it's gone through. Have I been costing you money? Oh, no. Brooke the dog's just adorable. If you don't know about Brooke the dog, when Mike did his P year, we pick a charity and we wanted to pick the guide dogs. So we picked the guide dogs and we had a challenge, and the challenge was you had to raise £2,500 to be able to name the dog. And obviously it would make sense for the Brooklyn Circle to call the dog Brooke. And we reached 2,500 and we were able to name the dog, and Brooke was born in April this year. And isn't he just absolutely adorable? His little face. That he was my perfect dog until I met a Samoyed, and then it was all history after that. But when I was a child, the guide dogs were represented by golden Labradors, and they're just adorable. And then a couple moved in 2 doors up from us with a golden Labrador. And I just loved walking him and generally playing with him. Oh, I adored that time. So Golden Lab was definitely my dog until I saw a Sammy. But yes, Brookie's gorgeous. He's totally gorgeous. Right. P year sounds confusing. Well, we call it P year. We mean our presidential year. But, P year. Yeah, they're playing with your mind tonight, aren't they, Mike?
Yeah.
Oh, headphone on the way via Amazon. Woohoo! You'll enjoy it. It's good. It is good. Quality is great. Trust me on that. Is that Romero? Are we pronouncing that Romero? That reminds me, it was Maximilian Day and Romero's anniversary.
Oh.
We watched a film on that. Yes, Kim, I saw a film. I will never be watching it again. It was a brilliant film, but it was one of those films you could only watch once. It was horrific. It was very, very well done, but oh my God, talk about pulling the heartstrings. Both of us said at the end of it, we sat there open mouths with like, that was stunning. That was really impressive. I'm never going to watch that again. It was just too harrowing. But I did. I actually sat there and watched that. Right, okay then. Last call for questions. Other than that, we are heading off. We've got 2 days of our holiday left, and we are going to make the most of it, aren't we, Mike?
Mm.
Oh, indeed we are. So why is it taking my links and not you?
Don't know.
You're down as a moderator, aren't you?
Mm.
So technically, there's no reason. It just doesn't like Mike tonight.
No.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Oh, Brockie's just gorgeous. They're all gorgeous. I love dogs. He sadly departed. But if it was Romero, rather than... If that's the pronunciation, there was a Catholic priest who was shot, and he was called Romero, and they literally just canonised him. And there was a film about it. What happened? It was in what was the country? El Salvador. It was in El Salvador, and I had no idea of the story. We had a play on it as well, didn't we? That came to the church. Mm. They brought like a live production, so we moved all the benches and stuff, and actually made a theatre in there. And the story is astounding, but very, very hard to watch. So I would recommend watching it once, but make sure that you're not on a downer that day, because you'll be on a downer when it's finished. Trust me on that. Right, okay. I will head off then. I will ponder this cake or ice cream or something, and think about what I'm going to have tomorrow as well. Right, but for the moment, I'm going to say good night from me.
And good night from me.
And we will both see you next time. Stay safe, guys.